All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Let's go ahead and call this meeting to order. Today is April 23rd, 2024. This is a regular meeting for the Board of Supervisors for County of Lake, and we will begin this with a moment of silence. This happened, I believe, on April 4th in the streets of Clear Lake. There's unfortunately a loss of life due to a criminal incident. Her name was Liz Williams. She was taken from us abruptly and made quite a huge hole in our community and an impact to her friends and her direct family. I don't want to provide more details because obviously there's an investigation going on, but this one hits home close to me for unfortunately both the victim and for the person that has been apprehended. But I do want to hold her family and friends in our thoughts and prayers today and hope that they can find good closure. Supervisor Green, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Yes. We begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. Our next item is the addition of any extra items not posted on the agenda. Are there any extra items?
No items, Chair. Thank you.
All right, and anything from board members? All right, seeing none, let's go ahead and move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Are there any items a supervisor wishes to pull for further discussion? Seeing none, let's open it up for the public. Anyone from the public wish to pull a consent agenda item? I see no hands up in the Zoom room or the chamber, so I'll bring it back for the board to take action.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve agenda items 5.1 through 5.21.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And motion carries. We're going to move on to our 9:02 a.m. item, public input. This is for any public expression on items not on our agenda today. Anyone wish to provide public comment? Please come on up.
Good morning. Mireya Turner, Community Development Director. Recently reported in a Mendocino County newspaper was the following story. On March 31st, there was a 20-year-old Ukiah woman riding an electric bike on Sanford Ranch Road approaching Talmadge. She failed to stop at the stop sign and went through an intersection at the same time that a 2000 Cadillac Escalade was coming in the opposite direction. There was a collision, and she sustained major injuries. The driver stayed at the scene, called 911, and the emergency responders showed up. But here's the rest of the story that wasn't in the newspaper. Our office assistant 3, Ruby Mitz, was attending an Easter egg hunt with her family that same day, that same location, and they heard the crash. Ruby ran out to the scene, ran directly to the crash victim, and was assessing her injuries and keeping her still. She was calming her and soothing her while her family directed traffic away from the scene. And she stayed with that woman until the emergency responders arrived. I mentioned this during public input because I want to give the supervisors every opportunity to express the pride that you have in your team. We don't just have public servants working for the county. We've got people who have hearts for the community and who respond. They're the helpers that we're always looking for in times of trouble. So thank you very much. She was really nervous, so I didn't make her come up right at the beginning. But Ruby, if you wouldn't mind joining me, that would be awesome. So I know that every day on a day-to-day level, we've got an amazing team in community development, but when people go above and beyond and actually show how heroic they are inside, it's a good thing to bring to you in the morning. Thank you. Did you want to say anything?
Thank you for that public comment. Yes, let's go ahead and do a group photo. Sorry, Ruby.
I'm here. This is good.
Thank you for that. Any further public comment from the board chamber or the Zoom room? Again, in the Zoom room, please use the raise hand function. All right, we do have somebody in the Zoom room, and Aaron McCarrick.
Hi there. Thank you, board. Thank you, Chair Sabatier. I am making a comment. It's a kind of a follow-up to one that I made a couple weeks ago, inquiring about the equity grant extension, and then also just trying to get more information for the equity grant, the cannabis equity grant, through the state of California, the Go Biz department. First, definitely want to say thank you. Thank you to everybody. Obviously, as Maria just said, everyone who works at the county is stellar and always looking out to help other people. So I want to say thank you to the Patrick Sullivan and the tax, the folks who ran it last year and the folks who are running it this year. But we're just trying to, there's a letter that went out to the county last week from the Lake County Cannabis Alliance, just asking for guidance and clarification and extension and just a response. So I'm bringing it to the board, and I think that a lot of folks in the cannabis industry wrote to the board as well, asking for a response to this letter. So just raising it to the board's attention just to say we'd really like help in this, because we're trying to work in partnership and ensure that that $800,000 doesn't get returned to the state, and that folks who qualify for the equity grant are able to receive it. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And Aaron, let's go ahead and get in touch and continue the discussion afterwards. I see no further hands up in the Zoom room and nobody in the chamber, so let's go ahead and move on to our 9:03 a.m. item, Pet of the Week. Officer Murray.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Officer Murray with the Lake County Animal Care and Control. Today, I have with me Bo. He is a 3-year-old Australian Shepherd mix, and he is very hyper. You would not think he was 3. He's a very, very sweet boy. He loves everybody, everything, and I don't think his little nub on his for a tail could go any quicker when he's excited. So, if you would like to come down and meet Bo in person, you can come down to 4949 Hellbush Drive, and our phone number is 707-263-0278. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Officer Murray. And I noticed that he's probably panting from how tired he is from wagging. Yeah. We're going to move on to our 9:04 a.m. item, and I do not have, and I apologize, we're going to take that a little bit later as soon as possible. I apologize. Actually, let's just take a quick 1-minute break, because I feel like we need Johanna in here to make sure we're on task. I apologize for that. There. So if we can get the behavioral health team to come forward, please. Thank you all. Today we have a proclamation designating April 2024 as Alcohol Awareness Month in Lake County. Whereas the month of April is dedicated to increasing public awareness and understanding of alcoholism and misuse, its causes, effective treatment, and recovery. And whereas excessive alcohol use and misuse impacts adults and youth of all racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds, and that its consequences affect individuals, families, and communities. And whereas the entire community plays a vital role in supporting those struggling with alcohol misuse and addiction while promoting a culture of moderation and responsibility. And whereas education and prevention efforts are crucial in reducing the stigma surrounding alcohol use and misuse and encourage individuals to seek help when needed. And whereas Lake County Behavioral Health Services provided DUI program services to 411 participants and assisted with 528 treatment service requests in the calendar year 2023. And whereas in the state of California in 2022, an average of 15,443 annual deaths are attributable to excessive alcohol use, and 64.4% of those deaths are due to chronic causes, such as alcohol use disorders. And whereas the Board of Supervisors and Lake County Behavioral Health Substance Use Disorder Services urges all community members and organizations in Lake County to participate in activities and events aimed at educating themselves and others about the dangers of alcohol misuse and addiction, and support initiatives that promote healthy lifestyles. Now therefore be it proclaimed, the Board of Supervisors of the County of Lake with the Lake County Department of Behavioral Health Services do hereby proclaim April 2024 as Alcohol Awareness Month in the County of Lake, passed and adopted this April 23rd of 2024.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Amber Westfall. I am a programs manager with Behavioral Health Department. I oversee our substance use disorder services and programs. Everything that I wanted to mention is outlined in this proclamation, but I do want to say that, alcohol use and consumption is ingrained in our everyday lives and our society and everything that we do, and that's okay. Everybody has a choice to consume alcohol as you wish, but I think it's important to mention that when we do so, that we do so in moderation and being responsible, and to help spread that message to our families, our friends, our children, our youth, and our loved ones, because although alcohol consumption is normalized and standard, there are large consequences associated with misuse and dependence, and we see that every day as well. The amount of DUI involved accidents that harm people, fatalities, and the large consequences associated with dependence, and how that fatally affects our body. Coming out of COVID, unwinding, we're seeing a lot more medical conditions associated with alcohol dependence, and we're seeing individuals younger and younger who are having severe medical conditions associated with that, such as cirrhosis of the liver and other medical conditions. So if you or someone you care about, you love, are struggling with alcohol misuse and may need a little additional support or education, we have a large network of providers and a large network of people who really care about the community. You can reach out to our department, Behavioral Health Services, or any other provider in the county to receive support and services. And if those providers cannot directly provide that type of support and services, they will link you to somebody who can. Thank you.
I don't know that you could say it any better than what Amber just said. We have a human responsibility not only to take care of ourselves, because once we take care of ourselves, we can take care of our communities. Things that we do have impact on others. Place and time, place and time, place and time. I see it too often from the streets of Clear Lake to the conferences that we go to. People are misusing alcohol at the wrong place at the wrong time, and I think we all need to be aware of our impacts to ourselves and to our families and our communities, and there's ways that we can get help when we lose that control. So thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting those that ask for the help, and please reach out. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll just add, those of us that are around kids and youth and teenagers, it's so important to model appropriate behavior and know that, and show that you don't always have to have alcohol to have a good time, and to show that there is a lot more beyond that in life. So it's really important when you've got eyes on you that you may not be aware of, to really model that better behavior.
Thank you for that, Amber. I really appreciate what you said. I appreciate the department's work because, one thing I have to say is when it comes to alcohol, it's important that people stop when it's controlling them or when it's having that effect and it's hurting family and people around them. But the most difficult part about being sober is the aftermath, when you have to be accountable and continue on and ride those waves of, you want more cravings and whatnot. So the hardest part I know for me was to be accountable to the people that I hurt, regardless of their family or friends. The things I've done and said, I had to go out to them and at least make amends. They may not have forgiven me, but at least you have to do that. I mean, that's a hard thing to do, but you know what? That's the work that gets done, and it's your department that helps them with that or gets them to the place they need to be. So I wanted to highlight that. Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that, bro.
All right. Thank you very much for that. Item 6.4, 9:10 a.m., presentation of the North Coast Opportunities Building Up Individuals and Local Development Build Program. Please come on up to these chairs. I'm not sure how long your presentation is, but let's get you comfortable. And I think we have a presentation to share as well. And did you want to start this off, Supervisor Pyska, please?
Well, thank you all for coming and giving this presentation. I think we're doing it annually now, but this is a small program, but it's having massive impacts on our community members and our community, and it's just been incredibly effective when you can just really devote so much time and energy and resources to a small group of people, and you watch these graduations and you watch people come through the program, and you know that you are experiencing generational change. And in a county like ours, it is incredibly worth it to put those resources into a program like this, where we can see the outcomes go down through the generations. And I know we've got a graduate here today. I'm so glad you're here. This is such an exciting program. It was an investment that we made as a board, and it brings me nothing but joy to get updates from your program.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you for the investment. We're excited to share all of the updates with the work that we have been able to do with these funds. And yes, thank you for acknowledging. We have Simon and we have Aurel here, graduate and a current builder. And my name is Derek Fiedler. I'm the program manager of the Build program. With me is Joseph, the project assistant, and Roseanne Ibata, the director, Michael Willis, the crew coach. So, I have the control to the slides. There we go. Yes, very good. Okay, so as I share some pictures, I'll just introduce the program for people that might not be aware of the program, as well as pick up some updates, because we did share a little over a year ago And we have made some modifications and some improvements to the course design as well as to the populations we can serve. So BUILD is a career development program of North Coast Opportunities. North Coast Opportunities is the community action agency of both Mendocino and Lake counties, been in service to our communities since 1968. The BUILD program has been around since 2020, and we serve to build up individuals and local development in Lake County. We hire on crews of 6 trainees who work on projects that positively impact the community, specifically the built environment in Lake County, while the builders can gain hands-on quality work experience and professional skills. So who qualifies for BUILD? So for people that are interested, they would sign up with us through initially an application online through our website, ncoinc.org/build. You would need to be 18 and over, a Lake County resident, have some type of employment barrier, whether that's 0 experience, or you've been justice involved, or you have some type of barrier that is holding you back from getting into a quality job and career. You also have to be motivated to make a difference in the community. We're a mission-driven working crew, and you have to have a career focus. A lot of people, they come to us and they think, oh, I just need a job, whatever I can do, because we are an earn and learn program. So we take some of these funds and we give it right to the participants that we hire on. And some people think, oh, it's just a job, I just need a job so desperately. But usually our program's not a good fit for people in those circumstances if they're not career focused, because either we really annoy them or we bore them. And so for people that are motivated and hungry for those opportunities, we're a great fit for them. And you have to be willing to complete at least 400 hours of on-the-job training within a 4-month time period. We have served 9 cohorts, or crews as we call them. Each cohort is about the length of a semester for school. So we run a fall cohort and a spring cohort that run the duration of 4 months. So we serve 2 crews of 6, so a total of 12 participants for our 101 foundational crew. Thank you. Thomas just walked in. Good to see you, Thomas, one of our graduates. And so we've served a diverse population from all sorts of different backgrounds. We've had members of local tribes. We've even worked on different tribal projects for housing. We have some graduates even have ankle monitors from parole or probation as they graduate. So we're a second chance program, sometimes a third, fourth, fifth chance program. We are a learning environment, so that way people that are motivated to turn the page and start a new chapter in life, we're the crew for them. We've had people with trauma, we've had people with homelessness, like living in a tent, coming to work, finding a way to get to work. We've also had a great opportunity for people that want to change the trajectory of their lives as well as their family tree. We've had 3 female graduates, and we are excited to serve Lake County residents from all sorts of different backgrounds. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our project assistant, Joseph, who's going to give you a quick snapshot of the timeline of what one of these cohorts looks like.
Thank you, Derek, and thank you to the board. There is a lot of action that happens in this 3 to 4 month period. So we have been trying to tighten down this design, and the possibilities have really opened up because of this documentation and these processes that we've learned. In the very beginning, the crew members are, even during the selection process, are learning some skills in their workshops. Prior to being selected, we still attend to about 10 to 12 candidates we develop an alternate pool as well to try to get them into the Mendocino College that we partner with. So we have a workshop week going into the selection process that is really working on personal discovery, trying to awaken that purpose within someone to say, am I career focused? Am I ready to make a difference in the community? Once we've identified those individuals, we take those 6 crew members and we really just pour everything we can into them including belief in case that's the only missing component. In the first week, we really focus on, of course, we have to get through the onboarding phase in the first couple of days, but we do our standard onboarding, and then in the afternoon, we're already jumping right into the build-specific onboarding, where we're really going over the program and what we do. In the next few days, we talk about the schedule and how they need to get into that mindset of being ready to work, what it takes to work. Some people have been out of work for some time and need to have that reminder of behavioral habits or time card preparation, how to get to work on time and communicate. That's really important. Then we start to hand out their hand tools. They are basically given a little bit of assistance as they prepare to come to these meetings and get ready for work by getting their standard hand tools, and we go over basic training with them. And that pretty much takes the whole first week. It's just getting their feet wet, getting them into the feel of construction trades and the habits of construction trades and working. The second week, we really dive into safety. One of the things that we really wanted to enforce and make it a safe learning environment, working with our insurance provider, because even though we do have the benefit of adding OSHA certifications to these crew members, which is usually something you have to be working for someone to receive, they don't get it until halfway through the semester. So we can't just hand brand new green construction workers power tools and say, good luck, don't hurt yourself. So we've worked with our insurance company, and we tie very close to manufacturer recommendations and OSHA regulations to make sure that these folks go in there with a safety mindset, that everything we're doing is looking out for each other, looking out for ourselves, because at the end of the day, we all want to come home with everything we started with. From there, we start doing some exercises. We have interactive flooring exercises that we do in our workshops. We go through every single power tool. We talk about its power source, the safety requirements for that, and making sure that they understand how to keep their eyes and ears open and how to use their personal protective equipment properly and to be prepared for anything that could happen, and look out for hazards as they walk in, because they do end up going on different job sites, and a lot of times it's the first time at all these different scenarios. So from there, they jump into a rotation, and we work with our wonderful contractor partners in the community. The list is growing, as you'll see in a few minutes here, and we get to have them try out all sorts of different trades. We've picked up some specialties like HVAC. We've picked up some specialties like glazing. These are things I'm kind of jealous I didn't get to work in a program like this. This is pretty incredible that you get to show up and experience all of this in about 3 to 4 months to give them inspiration on what they might want to do. So we've got some examples here of some of the flooring that they started to put in, and really just have a great leader with Mike Willis out there showing this crew what to do, and making sure that they're being watched by either a representative on the construction sites, or he himself is watching part of the crew. And then they continue to do this as they get closer to their graduation date. We start thinking about what's a good fit for them. How are they doing? Do we need to start letting them stay at certain roles a little bit longer because it's a good fit? Because we're looking to place these individuals. We're looking to give them a good start onto the right track for them and a good fit. And that's really a lot better than trying to rely on just a labor, a labor company that's just giving you some temporary labor. We actually get to grow with them and learn about them and what drives them, so that we can make a good fit with the contractors as well. And then here's an image of one of our more recent graduation ceremonies, which is very, very special. This is really where you see the culmination of this whole process, and it really can't be described. It's something that has to be experienced. I was able to witness the fall 2023 graduation, and that's when I really understood what happens. The amount of pride and growth that these individuals experience over the course of 3 to 4 months is really inspiring. And if you can make it to one of these graduations, I would really recommend it. So thank you for letting me share the timeline, and thank you, Derek.
Thank you, Joseph. I do want to also mention that we received 60 applications for our recent crew. So the course of doing all those interviews, the workshop week helped whittle it down to 10. And so really it's a process that we've been refining over time. We have it down to where we know we have the best possible candidates to do the most quality work in our community. These are our outcomes for our builders. So since the beginning of the program in 2020 till our last completed crew, which was the end of last year, we've served 33 participants. Of those, 24 have graduated and 22 have been placed or found employment either before or after graduation. And I also put together numbers to give a snapshot of the duration of this funding that the county has awarded us. So since September 2022, we have served 27 participants, and we have graduated 16, and we are on track, because we're in the middle of a crew right now, to graduate 22. And we have employed 17, and we're projecting to place 23. You might notice that that number is a little bit interesting. We have more graduates than employed. That's because one of the things that we do so well is placing people, and we've had a few early placements, early enough to where we could actually pull from our alternates and have not just the original 6, but now we're serving 9 for this crew right here. So 2 of the 3 that had we let go of early was due to placement, because they found quality jobs already. So now we're just going to dive into detail, zoom into the work and the training that they do. So we partner with Mendocino College. Last year we told you that we're really excited because they opened up their Intro to Construction course. Well, now they've opened up several courses, enough to where people can earn the Intro to Construction certificate right here in Lake County. They don't have to drive over the hill, out of the basin, somewhere else. They can get that education right here. And we're just thrilled to partner with them, and as we grow, they grow. We are also excited that they get the time to have lab, so this is a special time for the students to be able to develop their skills together. As mentioned, the certificate, so this is not just a class exclusive to the builders. This is a plug to everybody in Lake County. You can take this course. It's super affordable. It's a non-credit course. There's not going to be giant tests or anything. It's no pressure. Just come and learn. Bring your questions. A lot of times people bring their remodel projects. They're like, help me figure this out. I don't know what to do. Come up with a plan. And we work through it together. A big part of our program success is our workshop days, where we bring in professionals and outside agencies and our community partners. Like pictured is Don Smith giving his purpose workshop early in the program to help our builders identify who they are and what their purpose is and come up with career goals to meet that. We also do financial literacy and a number of other workshops that help develop the soft skills and the professional skills. This list is quickly growing exponentially, actually. So we have been able to find over time the best, what we believe are the best employers in the trades. Our lead or our primary partnership is with Bridges Construction, but we also have Danco. They're the ones that recently completed the 80-unit apartment complex near Safeway. The Carpet Man, Eli Andrews, Valley Glass, Right on Time Heating and Cooling. Pacific Builders, they're doing I think it's 40 units apartment complex that's near the Nice area. BLH Construction, they're in Kelseyville with a big project as well, I think 60 to 70 units. So again, our crew members get to work alongside the best workers from the best companies in Lake County. And as you can see, this is a big job site with a lot going on. There couldn't be a better exposure to high-level work from quality contractors and subcontractors. So there's a lot of eyes on them saying, hey, are they doing a good job? Do they have a good work ethic? Maybe I'll hire him. And here's a couple of pictures of the builders at work at Danco. And I just want to say, going back to this one, the opportunity here is that we've had 3 cohorts work on these units. These are 80 units in the county, and they're working on units that they could live into. In fact, one of our builders moved into one of these units. I'm not sure which one in the picture, but he's living on the complex, and their kids could live here. Their grandkids could live here. Like, these buildings would be here for 50 years or more. And so they're sowing into long-term built environment into the county. We also do community enrichment projects where we have time, an extra couple of days. For example, Adventist Warehouse, goods for people in need, as well as the NCO Garden Project in Clear Lake and Middletown. These are great, simple construction projects, great hands-on experience, but it also enriches the community. We've also got a lot of requests for pergolas lately. I don't know, maybe you could see why. Another big thing that we do is our rehab program. So our crew gets out there and we partner with landlords who are partnering with other agencies who are housing individuals coming out of homelessness. And so our crew goes in there and does good work and brings the house back up to habitability for families that are desperately needing a good place to be and an affordable one. Here's some of our outcomes for our building project. We have 37 housing units that we have rehabbed or worked on in some way, 6 of which are transitional, 28 are rentals. Recently, we've been doing some owner-occupied that Mr. Mike's going to be talking about. Those are for people that have lost their mobility, elderly folks who have a fixed income that are unable to, say, build ramps or stairs, or they've lost reliable or healthy access to their home, and they ran out of options. And so our team comes in there and we're able to build something in a way that they can regain access to their home just to stay living in there. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Mike.
Good morning. Once again, it's always a pleasure to come before you guys.
Closer.
Once again, it's a pleasure to come before you guys and share our successes of the BUILD program. The BUILD program is not like any other program. The BUILD program not only serves the community, but we give everything to this program. From the time they're hired to the time they graduate. We interact with them, know them personally, and we try to provide for them all the necessary tools that they need once they graduate. I'm glad to be able to be their coach, their supervisor, their hands-on guy. I just want to share 2 houses we fixed up. It was 2 weeks before Christmas, 2 weeks before the team graduated. We had another project going. We had our crew on other job sites. But Derek received a call on the same day. 2 senior citizens were in need. The first house was in Kelseyville. Lady's husband was in the hospital. He was diagnosed with diabetes, and they were going to have to amputate his leg. She had no resources to do the work that was needed to put a handicap ramp in. She reached out to the BUILD program. And the BUILD program went to Kelseyville. We met her along with Bridges Construction, and we developed a plan to put in a handicap ramp for her. So when her husband came home, he had the ability to come in and out. We put a handicap ramp in. We put stairs in for her. We put bars in the shower for her husband to get in and out. Developed a good relationship with her. But that's what the BUILD program is doing, and that is what we try to keep doing The other project was in Middletown. I like this little lady. She's a senior citizen also. Unfortunately, she had a fire. She was in a wheelchair. She had to go to
Transitional living.
transitional living. She wanted to get back in her house. Her house was a mess. She hired one contractor. He ran off with her money. She hired another contractor. His work was bad and he ran off. Some kind of way they heard about the build program. I wasn't there at first to see the house. Derek and Joe told me about it. I went there by myself. Remember, 2 weeks before Christmas, 2 weeks before graduation, with the first house in Kelseyville. And now we got a second house in Middletown. When I walked in there, I said, no way will we be able to do this. The house was cluttered. It was a mess. And came back to the office and we talked about it. Bridges agreed to help us put the flooring down. We was able to put plywood down on the floor, new linoleums throughout the house. She had blinds that needed to be put up. She had blankets over the windows. We were able to do that. Put a new toilet in. We even replaced the rear room window. And when I seen her face, when she moved in, signing the papers, final inspection, she was so delighted to just be back in there. Things like this is what drives the build program. And we try to instill in our workers, our crew, the importance of doing a job, doing it right, being on time. Take pride in the work that you do, because it will be noticed and you will be noticed. I'm proud of all of our graduates. Everyone's not able to get a job, but I keep trying to instill in them, the more you put in, the more you get out. The more you put in, a contractor will discover you. Just show up and do the work. Be dependable. Be there. I'm not going to talk anymore because we have these graduates here, and I'm just so proud of Thomas. Where's the other one at? Simon.
Yep.
And Oral is still in the program. If you guys could just listen to them for a couple of minutes, and they could tell you where they were before they came to the build program, what they learned while they're in the build program, and what opportunities and doors open for them when they graduated. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so we probably have time for one, and then the others, if we have time for public comment, they can share a word. Thomas, why don't you come up and just share just for a minute? Thanks, Roseanne. So maybe just where are you at? What was life like before the build program, and then during and after?
Let's see.
Can you just state your name first?
My name's Thomas Vines. Hello, everybody. When I started off with NCO, I had 3 kids. We were in a small trailer and kind of just making ends meet as it was. And then we had a baby on the way. I was out of work. My wife was getting clients here and there, so that was what was keeping us going. We were on welfare and everything, and got the interview at NCO, and it was, don't even remember really filling out the application, but it was online, and then they called me in for the interview, and I was like, freaking heck yeah, I get to do learn how to do construction more and get paid to do it. And then they got to go to the Mendocino College, got some and then afterwards, I ended up taking a couple college courses, got my job with Danco, got a three-bedroom house, or it was two-bedroom, and then I built my kids a third bedroom. Got ourselves a new car. Our third baby's getting big now, so she got plenty of room to run around. And then I get to come in every once in a while and inspire some confidence to the new graduates whenever I get a chance. And
How about when you're hired with Danco?
oh yeah, that changed my whole everything. You know, it's a huge company. They got probably 1,000, close to 1,000 employees. Send us on company retreats and paid time off, this and that, you know, all the medical, dental, 401k, and got more work than I know what to do with now. So that's pretty much where I'm at now. Thank you,
Thomas.
guys.
Appreciate it.
Thomas failed to tell you guys that Danco liked him so much. He had his kids and his wife, one vehicle. He needed another vehicle. They gave him money. They gave him money to purchase a car. He forgot to tell you that that's how much they appreciated him. Yeah.
Yep.
I would love to hear from the other two since they're
Yes.
here.
Now a good time, Bruno?
Yes, yes.
We have Simon Thornton.
Before Simon speak, we have so many applicants, and it's hard to choose 6, 3 alternates out of 60. A lot of them have 1 or 2 barriers. Simon had the most barriers out of any applicants, but he hung in there. I'll let him tell you his story, but I'm just proud of him just hanging in there because it paid off for him.
Hello, my name is Simon Thornton. Actually, ironically, yeah, I did have a lot of barriers, and I still do, but I'm learning to navigate through them and around them. When I first applied for Build program, I was homeless, I was on parole, I was basically lost. I was doing a sentence of 34 to life, got it commuted down to, due to law changes, to time served. I'm currently still on parole. I have a GPS ankle monitor on. I never even thought I'd get out of prison. You know, I was sentenced away for the rest of my life. And all because I made the choice of hanging out with some older people that I barely knew and went for a ride I shouldn't have went for. But now I had a second chance at freedom, and I didn't know what to do with it. I was lost, scared, confused. And because it was an emergency release from prison, I had no support system really in place. Got out, heard about Build. Actually, one of the few places that tried to help me was parole, and they were the ones that told me about Build. I went and applied. I was chosen, and thanks to that, I've gone from being homeless, living in a tent in the hills of Clear Lake Oaks, to I'm in a 1-bedroom, well, I guess you'd call it a cottage in Clear Lake. I have a car. I have a license for the first time in my life. I've never had a license or a car in my life. I'm 35 years old, so you got to imagine how that feels. I managed to support myself well. I struggle at times still, but you know, I'm not giving up. I went to the college. I managed to get almost everything I need to graduate with my Introduction to Construction certificate. I'm still attending courses. In fact, next month I get my EMS 550, which is Introduction to AED, which is the shock paddles, the CPR, and community first aid. Upon receiving my certification in that, I will actually get my Introduction to Construction Trade certificate. Thanks to Derek, Joseph, Mr. Mike, this lady here, and Coach Gaddy, I've had a dramatic shift in my life, and it means a lot to me. I mean, no matter what, I owe them more than I can ever say, because I probably wouldn't be here otherwise. I was getting to that point where I was feeling like there was no other option but to do something stupid. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. You're the man. Next, we have Orel.
Hello, my name is Orel Gossman, and I'm a current builder with the Build program. I believe I'm the youngest on our current crew right now. I just turned 20, April 6th, and for me, the Build program has been an honest lifesaver. As a young person with very little experience and in a bit of a newer place, I'm a bit new to Lake County, I've felt quite lost at times. And the Build program for me has been much more than a job or just a paycheck. It's been a family. Whether it's with Derek, Joseph, Mr. Mike, or my current crew, we are constantly building each other as well as the community and our projects. We function very much like a family. We all hold each other up at all times. Whenever someone falls down, whenever someone needs something, whenever someone doesn't have a ride, whenever someone doesn't have a lunch, we all support each other. I recently was in an accident, a motorcycle accident, and I haven't always had a ride to work. I haven't always had a way to get to somewhere for lunch. And everyone that I have been working with in my crew has always helped and supported me, as I have with them when I did have a ride and they did not. Working with this community and in this community has been super, super important for me personally. I haven't always known where I wanted to be, and the work that we do is extremely important in my opinion because it goes so far with who we see in our everyday lives. The people who I work with, the people who I work for on the larger community, the larger construction sites, such as Nice and with Bridges, are people that I see in the grocery store every day. They're people that I see in Library Park every day. And so it creates that tight community bond for me to feel accomplished and like I'm helping my community truly. As a success, I feel extremely proud of the work that we've done so far with some small home construction that we've done, as well as the large projects. I've received tremendous feedback and gained a lot of confidence that I did not have coming into this, and a lot of friends as well. And I feel like it has truly saved my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Orel. Appreciate it. All right.
Out of the first 6 we hired one of the young men. He now works for NCO. We had another crew member working for Pacific Builders. A little bit after the first month, Pacific Builders hired him. We currently have 2 or 3 other members of the crew. I'm pretty sure they're going to get work also. I'm just glad to have this job. I've had a lot of jobs in my life, but none like this one where I just give myself and the team and Justin and this fine lady here,
Roseanne.
Roseanne. I want to call you Anna. But we have a good team, a good family. If I had to wish for something else for this build program, and would ask the Board of Supervisors, it's a lot more jobs and opportunity up here in Clear Lake. We have, I just happened to write them down, but think about this. If we had a program that worked with the water company, PG&E, telephone company, Clear Lake Park Recreation, maintenance departments. What if we had a little training program with all those programs? Those are jobs that these young men can get on when they're 19, 20, 21 years old, move up the ladder and retire. They don't have to leave Lake County trying to find another job. The construction jobs are great. Been doing construction all my life. But sometimes construction is seasonal. So my challenge to you, Board of Supervisors, it'd be nice if we could find out a way to open some doors, more doors for these young men. And I just thank you for just allowing us to have this time.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah, so I just wanted to, that's a good segue. I wanted to update you on the horizon as far as the growth from last year to this year, much of which you've seen in the slides and their stories, but then also the horizon for the future. So we also were accepted the Breaking Barriers to Employment grant. It's a state grant, and it has been a great grant to partner and combine with this one, because they provide lots of resources, lots of connections with similar programs in workforce development. And they really love the BUILD program. They love what we do. And so in the Southern California, they hosted a in-person conference for the Breaking Barriers grant. And we were invited as one of two programs to give a TED Talk or a TED-style talk and highlight the program. And so we got to share what we're doing here in Lake County with the whole state, or other programs throughout the state. They chose the Lake County program to tell everybody the successes and to give them an example of what can be done. I'm proud of that, because I'm proud of Lake County. And so any chance that we get to spotlight what's being done with excellence in Lake County, I'm all for it. It was a privilege. And we also got to hire on Kayla, who joined me down south. She is a case manager, really a career coach, and this has been a game changer because she gets to do all of the follow-up calls, the meetings and sessions with the crew members for life skills, for career development, goal setting. It's just taking it to the next level as far as what we can provide these builders, in addition to all of the skills they're learning in the field. Okay, so there's our contact information. And then I wanted to turn it over to Roseanne, who can give you an update on the financials.
Good morning, Chair Zabatier, members of the board. Roseanne Ibarra, Director of Community Wellness for North Coast Opportunities. I want to do a time check, be respectful of your time, because I'm not quite sure where we're at.
Definitely behind schedule, but we wanted to hear you guys. I think this is an awesome presentation, and I appreciate everyone's patience with us as we move things along. So do what you need.
Thank you, Chair Sabatier. I'm here to speak to you about the number. So thank you. Deepest gratitude for the funding, the ARPA funding that the board provided to our program. It was $800,000 from July 1st of 2022 through December of this year. In that time, so last fiscal year, you'll see that first column, we've spent $192,000. The two columns in the light gray, which I'm not quite sure it's showing up here on your screen, but those are projected. So we're in the current fiscal year 23-24. I estimate that by the end of this fiscal year, we'll have spent $310,250. And that would leave a balance of $297,131 that I project that we will be spending down. I know that our staff has been working with your staff regarding the reporting on how we're doing with the project and the funding, and there has been a shift that I wanted to bring forward to the board. I know in the original agreement there was a line item for construction costs that included ADUs, alternative accessory dwelling units, excuse me, and then also rental renovation. So those dollars have been redirected to cover the cohort time. So we do pay a wage to our cohort members, and then also for personnel costs. And then Derek can speak a little bit more on the creative way we've been able to fund the building materials. We've been able to find alternative ways to fund those items. But you'll see that dark gray column, that's the original budget of $800,000 and how the dollars were originally allocated. And on the far right, I just wanted to show an example of what the full cost is for the program, a yearly cost. So it's $535,564. So for this coming fiscal year, for 24-25, we are looking at a deficit, but internally we're working on addressing that. As Derek had mentioned, we have an existing grant right now that ends this month from the Foundation for California Community College District that there will be another cycle that's available that we fully intend to apply to. So we expect that will help fill our need, and then we're also looking at alternative options. So thank you very much, and I'm open to any questions that you may have regarding that.
Thank you. Yeah, some of the other shifts that have taken place is, of course, right now our main track is construction. What we've been developing is turning this into a model that can be applied to different industries to meet other areas, such as automotive, such as even the medical field. It doesn't have to be trade specific, because as we do this work, we see that there's needs and there's gaps in connecting people with quality careers. And we want to be a program that can fill in those gaps and become an answer to some of these challenges that we're facing, not just in construction, but throughout the economy. The other thing is that with our construction program, there has been significant changes to construction. Of course, the prices of material, I can't believe it, but one panel of a T111 siding, exterior siding, was almost $100. So it's very expensive. So we came up with creative solutions to create a frugal program to most efficiently and honorably use these funds. So what we did, we redesigned our construction assistance programs with landlords to where landlords pay for the materials, and we cover all of the labor costs for our team as well as the contractors or subcontractors. And that has been a great cost savings for both the landlord. It didn't slow down at all. Like, they're still equally excited to work with us because the labor piece is typically a cost savings of 2 to 3 times over the materials. So that's one way that we were able to adapt. The other is that we initially planned to do an ADU project when we applied for this grant. And then once we looked into it together with the county, we realized that we could only really build 2 units with the money. And we felt like that was not really the mission for us or for seemingly the intention for this grant, and where the county wanted to invest their dollars. And so we've been able to continue with this rental assistance program for people coming out of homelessness. But then we've also wanted to honor some of the requests from our first meeting. I know Moak and others said, well, are you guys going to be serving the elderly? Are you going to be helping people on low and fixed incomes? And so recently we've had a flood of referrals, I believe because Habitat for Humanity, they're not able to run a part of their program. And so we've been getting perhaps some of their referrals, or word got out. In any case, you can see that we've been serving people on fixed incomes, elderly, people with no other options. The ramp projects, they're very simple projects. We can serve more people. And I feel like the impact is equal, because if they lose access to their house, that's as good as losing a house or losing a housing opportunity. And so for us, we can go in there and do simple construction program, which is a perfect fit for a beginner program to gain those skills. and then regain access to a house in Lake County. So that's been the shift. We also want to be mindful of, as changes happen, we want to be able to talk about these changes so that way expectations are set and all parties can be on the same page with how to best serve this community with the funds that are at hand. The other horizons for this program is that the apprenticeship or short-term internship piece that we do, originally that was just to help fill in some of those rainy days, but that has grown exponentially to where we're forecasting that we can create a separate track specifically or distinguish that piece of the program to be able to facilitate the apprenticeship piece, as well as have a work crew, because sometimes those two things can compete with one another within the same program. So I think a redesign would make the best of both. Another area that we want to explore is the entrepreneurial aspect, so actually building things and selling things. So building small sheds, building, could be custom dog houses, play houses, benches, picnic tables, any of those like simple construction pieces, and selling that so that way there could be a track just for that. We also want to create a 201 program. So in addition to the 101 program, we could keep them longer in the nest of the build program, so to speak. So instead of just a 4-month maximum, now we're talking another 6 months to a year and a half, where they get more benefits, more hours, more specialized skill and development. And so right now we're looking in heating and cooling, HVAC units, but we're looking at other specialty skills as well, to where our whole program, if people stick with multiple phases, could be with us for up to 2 years. And then they could take that experience and have that go towards a contractor license, or be able to have, supervisor, or not just enter into labor level at the low end, but be able to enter into mid-level for their employment with another company. Okay, I feel like that is enough time. I know you guys have other things on the agenda, and perhaps any other questions?
I believe Supervisor Pyska is ready.
I so appreciate this presentation, and whenever I go to one of the graduations, these stories stay with me for a long time, and I'm glad that you brought some of them up today to share because they're really impactful. One of the things that always resonates with me, and I hear over and over from the graduates, is how hard they're pushed through the program. This is not an easy program, and there's no handouts or gifts. They have to work very, very hard. They have to dig deep, and they're learning the skills of resiliency and work ethic, and just the recognition that they can do hard things and they can believe in themselves. And those are the things that don't ever really go away. Once you're taught that and you've learned that, and it seems like some of these graduates have never had those lessons in their lives. And so they're getting it for the first time as adults. And sometimes it's hard to learn those things. And I know, Mike, you've touched on that during graduation speeches. That they have to really devote themselves and devote themselves to each other. And I remember, I know some of the graduates outside of this, and watching them grow and grow into the people that they've always wanted to be is just so important. And I know they're not going back. They are going to new places in their lives that they wouldn't have been able to do before. And I think that is the ultimate investment. I love that we're getting the seniors back in their homes, and the stories of those 2 seniors right before Christmas. We've got a lot of old homes in our county, and this happens to seniors. When they live in old homes, they start to crumble around them. They don't have the resources to fix them up and to do simple things. And so that little bit of investment from your team pays dividends down the road, so they can stay in their homes, and we don't have dilapidated homes, and we don't have red tagged homes with squatters, and we don't go down that spiral where we have to have code enforcement come and do the cleanups, and that's a much bigger investment. So it's a lot easier to solve these problems upstream. So I really appreciate this holistic approach, and that all of you are so dedicated and invested in these students and the program, but then now we're hearing it from the graduates that they want to continue to invest in their communities. So I thank you for all of this. I encourage everyone to come to a graduation. It will change your life. It really, really will. This is just such an important investment. It means the world to me that you all are out on the front lines doing this work for us.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Any other comments from board members? Please.
What a great investment. You know, when this first came to us as a program through the ARPA committee, great work, you know, looking at the opportunity to look forward. Outcomes, and we had them testified right here today. So those are great things that are happening. Obviously, like I said, it was a vision that came to the board through the ARPA program, and just glad that we funded it and were able to do that at that time, and hopefully we'll be able to continue to grow. Hopefully what's been done through the program will also help you guys look at some workforce development grants and other things. I know this board is committed to continue to look to build those workforce opportunities. So if there's any grants that you guys are going for, I know that we do support letters, move forward with that. I know there's other conversations going on, but just want to make sure that we continue the growth. Appreciate your challenge. You know, here as a board, you're always trying to get that workforce development for the folks that just aren't going to, you know, maybe go on and, you know, take that next step and go to college and do all those other things. They just want to go to work to support their family and to be, you know, felt like, hey, I'm part of the community. I heard that great testifying today at the dais, or up at the comments there, and just what a great program. So obviously have support. We just got to figure out how we're going to continue this partnership with the NCO, and we do always have a good one. So thank you very much. Appreciate you guys getting up and speaking. Public speaking isn't easy to do, and especially, you know, when you have challenges and other things. So thank you for doing what you're doing. Continue working hard, and I know the program's going to continue supporting you. So good job, you guys. Good job, NCO.
Supervisor Green?
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. Quick question. I see the emphasis was mainly on residential, and I didn't know if you covered this in the presentation. I apologize if you did. Are you limited in your scope of work right now solely to residential properties? And the reason I ask is just as some of our seniors are struggling, some of our nonprofit agencies are struggling, and they happen to have deferred maintenance needs in the buildings they have. I'm thinking of senior centers. I have a nonprofit in town that has some deferred maintenance needs. So do you have the ability under your current scope of work to provide services to nonprofit agencies that may have some building needs in addition to the residential work you're already doing?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. Thank you for bringing it to our attention. Currently, no. Right now, our outcomes are more on the residential side. However, we've had a few requests for other areas, like for transitional living. So you saw we have helped out with that in the past. We thought we're kind of entering the gray a little bit because it wasn't more of like the landlord relationship or homeowner relationship, but we've been approached recently by other transitional living facilities asking for assistance because either they don't have the funds to, or their grants won't cover a certain part of the upkeep that needs to obviously happen in order to run a good program like that. So the answer is that we see the need as well, and we want to come up with a way where our crew can go to work. I will ask a follow-up question is, do you see any issues with the nature of the arrangement with the ARPA funds to be able to make an adjustment to where we could have our crew go work on some of the properties that you have in mind?
And then I'd like to jump in here too, Supervisor Green. Thank you so much for that question. I think as we continue to explore the expansion of this program and what we want to do and what's in the future state of the BUILD program, I think that's an excellent thing. So thank you so much for bringing that forward, because our focus has been housing, but you're absolutely right that there's nonprofits that also could use this kind of support. So I think we can put that on the list of things for us to explore. Thank you.
And I think there's always an opportunity to bring back possible amendments to the agreement to see if that's something that can make sure that it's not in the gray, but within the letter of the agreement that we have. If there's opportunities out there and you wish to come back to us to see if that's a possibility.
Yeah, I
Vice Chair?
just wanted to say great presentation. I like presentations like this. They're showing the, you know, the work that you've put in, and all of the gentlemen, whether they're young or old, you know, good work. Way to dig yourself out, stay committed, and do what you have to. I like the pivot that you all make in certain situations with regard to the cost of the materials, and then working with the owners or the renters or whoever to pay for that. That gives you a chance to still get the experience and work on the things that they need to get experience on as well. So, I mean, there's all sorts of different options, and you all seem to have the capability to pivot in any way to make things work and get these folks what they need to, you know, develop in life. So, yeah, no, thank you for this presentation, and I'm willing to discuss anything any further that we have to make sure we can do what we can to help you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for the presentation. Definitely enjoyed being at a graduation. It was heartfelt. I knew some of the folks that were graduating as well. The stories are outstanding, amazing. Gentlemen, thank you very much for showing up today and giving your testimony to what this program can do, not just for you, but for others. Just know that opportunities are always evolving and evolution never stops. And so keep opening those doors, because obviously we've helped you through this program. They've helped you through this program to open some doors, but never hesitate to keep opening more, because opportunities are abound for you. I think you have an amazing team. Obviously a caring team. You seem to have quite the relationship with the folks that you are educating and priming for careers. That's not something that I think is the usual business of what we see here. So I think you guys have made a great team. And Mr. Mike, I haven't seen you in action, but I could tell from your persona that you're part of this reason that this is actually absolutely successful. So I appreciate what you bring to the board. You're hanging out with these gentlemen and these women and teaching them the trades and giving them those life lessons, not just those hammer lessons. I want to continue the conversation. I appreciate the financial side of it too. Thank you so much for letting us know where you are and where things might be in the near future. And I'm open for conversations. And Supervisor Pyska, thank you for bringing this and putting it on the agenda. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
did public comment.
Oh, yes, I skipped public comment. Please, come on up.
I'll make this quick. My name's Joe Cooper. I recently accepted the position as Construction Project Manager in Public Works Department. I found out about the build program from a flyer at Kelseyville Lumber. I took a picture of it, I brought it home, thinking that it would be an opportunity for me to get involved in the community further. I grew up here. A program like this would have affected change in my life at 18, 20 years old. Long story short, my son actually saw the flyer, applied for the program, was accepted, and is going to be graduating, or else my son. I want to say thank you to you guys for giving him the platform to make a positive, effective change in his life, and I'm so proud of him for taking that opportunity as well. And then to alert you to the fact that there's 3 open advertised positions now that I think would fit the program really well. Some of them are extra help, and perhaps there's a liaison between the build program and the county that can fulfill that. I've also had just a brief conversation about the program with the public services as well. And they're open to some sort of mentorship. I don't know the logistics or how that all works to start to develop those things, but I'm definitely on board, and I'm definitely willing to contribute in whatever way I can. So,
Thank you.
thank you for your time. I appreciate you all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comment. Is there any other public member that wishes to speak? I see no hands in Zoom and no further hands in the chamber, so I'll bring it back to the board, and I think we've said our piece. Any last words before we close this up?
When's the graduation? It's in May, and the location and
Yeah, invitations will be sent out. It's the last week in May. We are going to move it to a facility in Lower Lake that gives us twice the amount of seating capacity. So, unfortunately, it's not a public graduation, so I can't give out the details
Right.
just this second.
Right.
But the calendar invite will be sent out to emails for invitees, and also the flyer will be distributed as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Keep up the good work.
I'll see you all there.
So I know we're a little bit behind schedule, but because of the next item, I want to make sure, for staff's sake, let's take a 5-minute break, and then let's take a 10-minute break, and we'll start at 10:30. And thank you again for your patience. All right, let's reconvene and continue on our agenda. Again, thank you for your patience. We are going to take up item 6.5, 9:30 a.m., public hearing, consideration of appeal, AB 2401, of Planning Commission's denial of major use permit, UP 20-40, Higher Ground Farms. John Oliver is the applicant and appellant. Location is 3545 Finley East Road, Kelseyville, APN 008-026-07, and this has been continued from March 12th, 2024. I'm going to check in with County Counsel, Mr. Guintavano. We're going to start with Community Development to provide the facts of the project, open it up for the appellant to provide his testimony, and then at this moment we do not have, the appellant is also the applicant, so at that point we would open it up for public comments and provide all 3 minutes so that we can make sure to get all the testimony for the public. I want to make sure we have to go through the oath process now before we get started. Okay, so let's go ahead, and whoever wishes to speak both in Zoom, if we can, sorry to ask to unshare the screen so we can make sure and get everybody that we need from Zoom. If you are on Zoom and you wish to provide testimony, if you're in the audience, please go ahead and stand and take the oath. And Johanna will provide that. I don't see any hands on Zoom.
Oh, there's Donna has her hand.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and unmute her so we can hear her I do officially.
Okay. All right. With your right hand raised, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. Thank you.
Director Turner.
Thank you. Mireya Turner, Community Development Director. This appeal that you have before you today was continued from a previous board meeting due to the unavailability of the appellant, and so we do thank the board for granting the continuance so that we could all be present today. I will turn this over to Principal Planner Michelle Iris to present the staff memo.
Good morning. Thank you, Director Turner. Good morning, Chair and Supervisors. Let me share my screen. It's not letting me progress. Should click it. Thank you. So jumping right in here, I'll give an overview. This slide contains a vicinity map of the parcel and project area. As noted, it's located at 3545 Finley East Road in Kelseyville. And the parcel was previously used and historically used for walnut orchards, hemp cultivation that was permitted, as well as hay production. The project area is highlighted in the yellow square or rectangle. And just wanted to point out the adjacent Kelsey Creek Schoolhouse building, which I will get a little bit more into in a moment here, is located where the white arrow is adjacent. That building and site are owned by the Kelseyville Unified School District and currently leased by Lara. This slide points out a couple other uses existing on site, included some shop buildings, the proposed cultivation area, as well as, you cannot see it on this aerial, but there is an existing foundation for the proposed manufacturing building that was permitted as part of the previous hemp cultivation. The zoning is agricultural waterway floodway fringe zoning districts with a general plan designation of agriculture. And the supervisorial districts are actually split on this parcel between 4 and 5. The project is located in a mapped farmland protection zone, which allows cannabis cultivation with a major use permit inside of greenhouses with air filtration systems as proposed by the applicant. The site is accessed via 2 internal driveways from East Finley Road. There's a western shared driveway, sort of near where the yellow boxes identifying the Kelsey Creek Schoolhouse building. You'll see it to the right there. That's the shared driveway between the 2 parcels. And there's another to the right going to the existing shop buildings that the applicant is proposing to use. Now that we've oriented you all to the site a little bit, we'll give an overview of the proposed project. This is the current site plan that is proposed. It proposes a A-type 3B license for 22,000 square feet of mixed light within greenhouses of cannabis canopy. That would be 10 total greenhouses, 8 for mature plants and 2 for immature, as well as the processing building I previously described that has the existing foundation on site, as well as ancillary facilities such as security fencing, driveway improvements, water tanks. There is an existing well on site to provide the water source, as well as 2 5,000-gallon water tanks proposed for fire suppression. Also wanted to note that in the Planning Commission staff report, there was mention of cargo shipping containers, but those were not included on the site plans and also not analyzed within the project. So those are not included in the project if the board were to ultimately approve the project today. Yes, thank you, Director Turner. She was reminding me of these modifications. So on this slide, in January, the applicant verbally agreed to the noted project changes, modifications. I know it's a very texty slide, but I wanted to make sure these were all accurately categorized here. So we received comments from the Lucerne Area Revitalization Association, or LAURA, who, as I said, leases the facility next door to the project. And in an effort to work with the LAURA, the applicant agreed to the following changes, including moving the cultivation area 200 feet back from the schoolhouse to be a total of a minimum of 500 feet from the existing building, planting additional screening trees in between both the manufacturing processing facility as well as the cultivation site to add additional screening, using that interior second driveway on the right-hand side to be further away from the schoolhouse and not utilize that same driveway to lessen impacts to them, and limiting the height of the processing building to 25 feet 6 inches. That includes the existing 3-foot elevation grade change due to it being in a flood zone. And then lastly, the applicant is also required to provide updated site plans showing those relocated components of the project, proof of live scan confirmation, and letters from the biologists and archaeologists related to relocating those portions of the project. That was something that was described and discussed at the Planning Commission, and a condition of approval was added to ensure that all of the associated impacts potentially with those new relocated facilities are covered under CEQA. And all of those requirements and project modifications have been included as conditions of approval for the project at the Planning Commission hearing. As I mentioned, this project went to the Planning Commission on January 11th and was ultimately denied based on a number of issues that were discussed or raised by the Commission. Staff has summarized them into 5 points on the slide and also discussed further throughout the board memo dated for today's hearing. Those being that the location is not consistent with the neighborhood character. The project would alter the view sheds of Finley East Road and views of Mount Canocti, which is considered sacred to culturally affiliated tribes. proximity to adjacent farm labor corridors, residences, impacts to Kelsey Creek, and proximity to a school. And I will go through each of these. Now, so staff conducted an analysis of these points. I should also back up a second and say that the applicant or appellant provided an application of an appeal and stated that the reasons for the appeal was that the project met all of the code requirements. So staff took that information as well as information provided at the Planning Commission hearing and conducted an analysis based on the code requirements at the county and state level. This slide outlines some bullet points related to each of those issues raised by the commission and staff's analysis. So related to the neighborhood character, the site has been historically used and surrounded by agricultural uses and agricultural structures such as greenhouses. There's the packing sheds across the street there. The use is allowed inside of greenhouses within the ag zoning district, and it's not located within a cannabis exclusion zone, and also meets all of the setbacks and regulatory requirements throughout our zoning articles and state regulations. Related to the view sheds were analyzed in the initial study for the project in the aesthetics section. One of the reasons for adding the greenhouses is to protect some of those view sheds. As you all know, in our prime ag land, on our prime ag lands, our zoning code actually allows the structure, the proposed processing facility, to be up to 50 feet tall, and the project would be 25 feet and some change, so it's below the allowable height. And as I noted before, the cultivation areas and additional screening are proposed as a part of the project to help alleviate potential concerns related to visual resources. Related to tribal cultural resources, AB 52 notifications were sent out for the project following our procedures in our department for CEQA and processing the major use permit. We did not receive a request for consultation. However, we did include mitigation measures related to unanticipated discoveries for cultural and tribal cultural resources, and those impacts were found to be less than significant with mitigation within the initial study. And lastly, related to the adjacent residences, which are farm labor quarters, the code requires 200 feet setback from the cultivation area, and in this case, the project would be a minimum of 500 to 600 feet from the cultivation area. Moving along here to the fourth point, impacts to Kelsey Creek. The creek is located on the right-hand side of the parcel. It actually is included within the parcel. The parcel lines go all the way over to the creek. However, it's approximately 725 feet or so from the cultivation area and the proposed facilities. And there's also East Finley Road, or Finley Road East, bisects the parcel and the creek. So there's a bit of distance there. The project also includes best management practices and is required to enroll in the State Water Board permitting program, which further regulates impacts to water quality. Lastly, I'll say that biological resources, including impacts to the creek and associated riparian habitat, were included in the initial study and found to be less than significant. And our last point, proximity to a school. As I noted, in the bottom right-hand side of the slide shows the existing Kelsey Creek Schoolhouse building, which was relocated to the site several years ago and is currently leased by Laura for maintenance and improvements, but does not meet the definition of a school. I've put it up on the slide. I won't read it word for word, but essentially in our code, a school is defined as a facility providing instruction to any grades K through 12, which education is primarily conducted. And in this case, the schoolhouse building is not being utilized as a school. And further, the ag zoning district does not allow or permit schools within that district. Laura has been in contact with Community Development Department related to proposed improvements they would like to make in the future, but we have not received a permit application for such uses to date. And with that, staff has analyzed the project for compliance with required setbacks and other zoning code regulations, as well as the state requirements for cannabis use permits, and finds that the project is consistent with all of the aforementioned, and recommends the board uphold the appeal, reversing the Planning Commission's denial of the project and approve the use permit and initial study. And there are findings included in the packet for you all to consider, as well as those revised conditions in Exhibit E. Happy to take any questions, and the applicant appellant are also here, as well as the property owner.
If I could also just add one small detail, the proof of live scan confirmation is actually, as it's stated in the conditions, the draft conditions, is the applicant must have approval following the review of that live scan by the sheriff's office. So they're actually they need to pass the background check, not just submit proof of submitting an application for a background check.
Thank you for that. Any questions or keep going? Questions later? All right. We have the appellant in the room. Would you like to come up to the microphone and provide testimony?
I'm sure. Hi. My name is John Oliver. Thank you for the opportunity to hear our case and to give me the opportunity to speak today. You know, when we first started on this whole journey, we really wanted to find a location that was really well suited for this. You know, we searched quite a lot, and when we came upon this opportunity, you know, being in an agricultural zone seemed, you know, like the fitting place for this sort of activity. So one of our primary concerns, obviously, when we first came to the property, even before, long before we purchased it, was the schoolhouse. You know, that was number one question, because, you know, we wanted to make sure that wasn't going to be a problem, or that it wasn't going to infringe upon our ability to get a permit or bother the community in any way, you know. So we spoke to the neighbor, John David. We went to the assessor's office. I spoke with them directly to find out who owned the building. And at that time, I was under the understanding that it was owned by the neighbor had donated the property, and now it was owned by the county. And then I was told that there were plans to move the schoolhouse. That when I spoke to some folks at the Planning Commission, they told me that it had gone through quite a long period of them trying to figure out how to move it, and that it just wasn't, they hadn't found a way yet. So, you know, we had assurance that that was going to be the case, and that was the only reason why we moved forward with that, you know. And, you know, honestly, you know, this has been a 4-year-long process that has been, you know, just with the COVID and all the turnover at the planning division, it's just been an amazing amount of turmoil and really challenging just even to get to this point, you know. And so we just want an opportunity to be part of the community, to contribute, you know, to the legal market. You know, I'm someone who's been part of this movement for my entire adult life. You know, I'm not some outsider with big money trying to come in here and just tax the community and not give back and not be part of it. And so with that, now that the schoolhouse has become quite an issue, I'm more than happy to do whatever is necessary in terms of making it work and making it agreeable for everyone, because obviously it's a large parcel. You know, we could possibly move to the other end of the parcel. There's any number of ways that I think we could mitigate the issue, you know. And again, we're not here trying to do anything other than contribute to the community and to the legal market. So whatever we can do to appease our neighbors and to make this work for everyone, we're very open to. So thanks for this opportunity. Thank you for this day. And I hope you'll give us some good consideration on this.
Thank you very much for your comments. Just know that we may have questions for you when we get to the question part from the board, and so please be available for any answers.
Sure.
Thank you. And so with that, do you guys want to have a conversation, or do you want to hear from the public first?
Go ahead.
Okay. Let's go ahead and open it up for public comment. If you did not raise your hand to swear in, please just let us know. We'll make that happen. I want to make sure we hear from everybody today.
I'm Elizabeth Larson. I'm with Laura. I hope you've had an opportunity to read the letters that we submitted to you, including the March 7th letter that goes point by point through in response to the staff report. First off, the school was not located to the parcel several years ago, unless by several years ago you mean 1882. It's an 1871 structure. It's 153 years old. It's been sitting there for like 142 years. So that's the first thing. I also want to, I'm really, really frustrated with having to continually correct statements by the planning staff about what we've been doing. We haven't pulled permits because we haven't needed to. We've had lead paint remediation. We've been doing cleanup. We've been doing window repair. And I've checked with all the agencies that might permit. They said you don't need those things. So that's why. That's why we haven't pulled permits. And frankly, we told them earlier this year, do we need to go ahead and pull the trigger on the use permit process? And we were told it wouldn't matter because there's no setback requirements from cannabis from event centers or the type of stuff we want to do. Also, in the last few days, we've had legal analysis by an experienced attorney who said that this business about you can't have a school in an ag area, well, it's a school-owned property, and the school district has latitude to do things outside of normal zoning. So that's something we need to look into as well. So you'll have to forgive me because I'm very frustrated by having to continually defend ourselves against false statements about the property and about what we're doing with it. Now, regarding Mr. Oliver's timeline about the building was going to be moved, he bought this property, I believe, in 2020. By 2018, we were already in an application process with the school district for the school. So there was the other group did want to move it. They backed out of it because it was going to be astronomically expensive. It was going to potentially damage the building. And frankly, we are now in the process of applying for National Historic Register status for it. If you move it, that's over with. So I don't know who was telling him that they were going to move it or that that was an issue. And whoever did gave him the wrong information. So as far as a number of the other points, and I'm not going to have time in 3 minutes, but there's issues, we have concerns about the issues with air filtration. Greenhouses and hoop houses aren't airtight, and you can't ensure that they will be airtight, and you can't ensure that the filtration system will work. I'm deeply concerned that a project that is this bad on paper can't possibly be good in reality, and I have no confidence that the planning department will actually enforce what's going on if there are problems down the road. You know, I don't see that happening. It has been too long. I've had too much pushback, and there's been too many issues. I hope you did have a chance to read the letters we submitted because they go into all of this point by point, and I knew I wasn't going to have time this morning. Thank you.
And when we're done with all public comment, if there's repeats to have to continue, please take advantage of that. I just want to make sure that we stay within our time frame as well. Any other public comment? Please come on up.
Good morning. My name's John Moorhead, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I live in Big Valley, private citizen. I'm against this project for a number of reasons that have already been enumerated, but a couple of points that I would make is that the Planning Commission came out against it. And two, regardless of what's said, you've got the press release and then reality. And where I live in Big Valley, we had a grow passed a letter of law, and we had more trespassers on our property in the 2 years that project was underway than we've had in decades. And this was for a CBD grow. It was not smokable marijuana. The guy had signs up all over the place, there isn't a buzz and a bail. And we were overrun with trespassing, crime. The sheriff's department is very short-staffed. You guys know that. That's been a chronic issue for a long time. How long will it take them to respond to the issue of trespassing? They don't. They can't. They don't have the manpower. This is an attractant for crime. There's no, it's not a zero thing. It will increase. So there's that. I would ask what Mr. Oliver's bona fides are. How many of these projects has he done before successfully? What was the impact of those? We're talking about 4.5, 5 acres of marijuana growing. As for air filtration and mitigation of odor, have you driven on Government Avenue in Upper Lake in October? Oh my goodness, it smells like the square in Arcata. You can't mitigate. The odor is unmistakable. So, you have 4 pictures of Mount Konocti on your walls. You don't have 4 pictures of Mount Konocti with acres of grow in front of them. And do we really want, I understand it's ag, and I understand that, but do we really want to promote intoxicants rather than food? Food feeds people. Intoxicants dull people to what's going on. My personal view, my opinions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else in the room wish to speak? Come on up.
Hi, I'm Helen Owen, and thank you for having us. And I'm going to concur with the last couple of statements, and I'm going to support what our planning department has, their vision for it, that they weren't for it, and I think that we need to think hard and fast before we put something like this next to a schoolhouse or next to where the children are going to be. And I know that there's something coming up in the future for that, and that's maybe a place that they should have maybe talked to before, is talking to the neighbors directly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Rose Davidson. I'm with the Lake County Genealogical Society. I'm newly appointed as of last week with the Heritage Commission, and I'm also a Big Valley gal. I love the schoolhouse. I love the fact that the mountain is in the background. I recently attended a funeral for Ray Mostyn, who was a former District 5 supervisor. And he worked countless years to conserve and restore the schoolhouse. He was also a Big Valley guy. As a genealogist and a historian, I look at Lake County's past, and I see instances where the Board of Supervisors have made some bad choices for the future, like selling away our water rights. I want you to consider the future. The generations that are behind you that are going to be affected by your decision. And I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else wish to speak on this item? Please come on up.
Good morning and thank you. I'm speaking in opposition to the project and in support of your planning commissioners. Your planning commissioners were selected by you for particular reasons, and for whatever reason the development department seeks to overturn that. Unfortunately, in their appeal, they've presented no new evidence, and that's the crux of an appeal, is the new evidence. So there's really no appeal going on here today, is there? This is just the planning department trying to ramrod this project through. Where's the evidence?
Thank you very much for your comment. Anybody else in the board chambers? I see no hands in the Zoom room. And there it is, Donna Makowitz. Oh, we'll get to you in a second, sir.
Good morning, Board. Donna Makowitz, Red Bud Audubon Society.
We respect the Planning Commission's decision, and noting the mitigations recommended if the project is approved, we reached out to Mike Jones, our UC Cooperative Extension Forest Advisor in Lake, Mendocino, and Sonoma counties about using the recommended spruce around the cannabis grow area and screen buffer to the schoolhouse. His reply was, and I quote, "It's probably not a good choice. It's possible, but with irrigation and proper maintenance, planted trees may grow well for a while, but given the climate in Kelseyville, it's likely it would eventually become stressed and start to decline. There's a reason most of our native tree species are slow growing. Additionally, using bushy and relatively fast-growing species as viewshed barriers, spruce, arborvitae, cypress, can become fire hazards without proper maintenance," end quote. We're not sure who the staff is that supplies the mitigation comments, but it's important to present scientific facts. It would be beneficial to train staff on native plants and trees and offer only recommendations of the right species for the health and safety of Lake County's future. Another example is plantings of oleanders, a non-native species, and the USDA Department of Forestry states inhalation of smoke from a burning oleander can cause poisoning. All parts of the plant are extremely poisonous, containing 10 different cardiac glycosides. These compounds induce cardiac arrhythmia and eventually death. Thank you kindly for taking my comments.
Thank you for your comment. Nara Dabaka? Oh, did you swear in?
I did not.
I don't believe we had your hand up. If it's possible to swear you in, then we'd love to hear your testimony.
I wait for staff to swear me in, or I just swear to tell the truth.
All right. With your right hand raised, do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Hi, Nara Dalbaka. I am the current president of the Lake County Cannabis Alliance, and I also serve on the county task force rewriting the ordinance. I'm speaking today as just a private citizen who happened to be logged into the meeting. The Alliance has not discussed this project, and I would just encourage you all to try to find a solution here. It sounds like this is an unbelievably complicated issue. I think that the applicant sounds like he's willing to make mitigations and make changes. I would encourage the county to look at those. The appeal process is here because sometimes governing bodies can make mistakes, and our planning division is here to uphold the existing code. So I would, like I said, it does sound like this is a tough and complicated issue, and I don't envy you all today, but I do hope that you will seek to find a compromise. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I believe we had a comment in the board chambers. Please come on up.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Leo Cortina, the owner of the location at 3545 Finlease Road. And we applied for this over 4 years ago. I understand why the delay, but we have a permit. We grew hemps before on the site. And the hemp and the cannabis, they're the same plants. They're the same odor, they look the same. And the reason we want to use it, because we want to spread the oil, and all the plants, even if they're 8 feet tall, they're going to be grinded up, and they're going to be used for insulation. House or building, they'd be using North Carolina, Texas, a lot of states, they're using it. So there'll be no waste. Even the grass could go recycle on the chips for insulation. So we were growing the hemps, but it's not enough income. That's the reason we want to grow also the cannabis. Now, when we started this project, before they bought the property, we asked the school district about the school building. They said they were going to remove it. So we proceeded, matter of fact, I offered to buy the property. So we proceeded with the project. That's the only reason we did it. Now, it'll be no mess, it'll be clean, because I'm the only one cut the grass on the property. The school district and doesn't cut the grass. It's 2, 3 feet tall sometime. I already cut it. They're not cutting the grass. My house is only 5 feet away on the property line, 5.5 feet. It's only about 45, 50 feet to the building. They don't have no bathroom. Well, the remark was, the last meeting, on the lobby, they said, ha, 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 he had a good day to me. We're going to use the porta potty. Well, that was a shock to me. They could use a porta potty for a building. I've been in this business building for 50 years. I'm 83. A porta potty, especially when it's windy, smell, especially in the summer. My house is only 50 feet away, not even. When we were doing the foundation, we had a potty house.
If you could please
Whatever they
finish
call
your
it,
statement.
potty. It smell. No matter how much you clean it, the wind will make a smell. So they think they could use it.
If you can please
My
finish your
house is
statement.
there, they got something coming.
Let's not speak in that kind of language or those terms. Can you please finish your statement, because your time is up at this moment in time.
So I already spent over $900,000. And to complete the project, it'll be another $700 or better. That's the reason they put up the building. The building is there on the site. I'm not going to do anything. My kids have said, you retired 3 times and you're still doing it. I should retire 5 years ago. That's the only comment I have.
Thank you for your statement.
Thank you very much.
Is there any?
The plan is approved for hams. It's the same product, same odor, same look.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Is there anyone with a comment that has not yet gone? I want to make sure to get everybody on their first time. Okay. If we want repeats, I think we have time, so let's go ahead and do so. If it's possible to be brief, that would be great.
I'll be very brief. I just want to remind Mr. Cortina that he took an oath. We were out cutting, we've been out many, many times cutting the grass on the property. I've never seen anybody else cutting the grass besides myself. Furthermore, he'll be very happy to know that what we thought was a pump house on the property is actually a plumbed and installed restroom. So no porta potties needed.
Thank you very much. I don't know that this board is going to make a decision based on who's mowing the grass, but thank you for helping us figure that out. Any further comments from the public? Want to make sure we get everybody again, please.
Elizabeth Larson, and I should say, the guy that keeps talking and not giving you his name is my husband, John Jensen.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Sorry
We had
about
no
that.
idea.
So again, we hear this thing about, oh, we went to the school district and they're going to move it and they're going to sell it. The school district, I've asked 2 school district administrations over there, Dr. McQueen and Dr. Thomas. Neither one of them or their staff know anything about an offer to buy the schoolhouse. They certainly, by 2020 or 2019, were not telling people that they were going to move the schoolhouse. By 2018, we already had the application in. We were in we were in negotiations. We didn't take the keys of the schoolhouse until May of 2022, and in that time, we've done actually a significant amount, including grant writing and everything else. The nightmare scenario for me is what is happening right now. I emailed planning almost 5 years ago to try to get ahead of any potential projects here, well before we had it, well before the agreements were finished, because I didn't want to happen what is happening right now. Having something go next to that schoolhouse. This is the first historic site that I'm aware of that is directly in the path of this whole cannabis industry. And it just doesn't belong there. Just doesn't belong there. I've tried to say this over and over, and I've talked till I'm blue in the face to planners. This business about it's not a school. It's a school. It's always been a school. Its form and function is a school. It's a school. You look at it, you know it. You know what it is. We want to have kids out there. This summer, we have a team of student archaeologists and historians who are coming to work with us on the site. So we're going to move forward regardless, but this project has been done poorly. They've not been honest, and Mr. Cortina came and basically threatened us and told us, you can't use that property. That was what happened. And it's on tape, and I put a screen grab in our letter to you because it was that serious. As far as on Saturday, we were out mowing the lawn, and we would have finished, but the tire flew off the mower. So that's how that goes. And there's a lot more coming this year, but again, the school district doesn't know what they're talking about buying the schoolhouse. So I just want to knock that one on the head permanently.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna very much limit that. Let's stay on topic on the project itself. Please, sir, I want to give you time as well to have another chance. But let's not have. Let's not talk about public members. Let's talk about the project, and let's talk about what we're here to make a decision on. Please.
Well, the project is started because the school. We asked for. Now, how do they could use? I have to spend over 40 grand for the septic tank system. The one that is there already, it was used for 20, 25 people, worker, when it was a farmer, according to the previous owner. And everything works. No, I have to put another system for one bedroom for the building. The school does have to do that. They have to put a bedroom. They cannot do it. They have no place to put it because of the distance. So if I have to do it, why they don't have to do it?
And again, let's focus on the project. This is not a what about situation.
For me, it's the project. If I don't have to do it, I'm going to have to spend another $700,000. I'm not going to do it. It's going to stop. That's it. I'll be happy to.
Thank you. Just want to check one last time if there is any further public comment. All right, I'm going to close public comment and bring it back for board deliberation. Supervisor Green?
Well, I do have some thoughts, and I can go first, but I don't have to.
I want to make sure to hit up the supervisors who either border or are on. I thought it was on the border, but it was stated that it's on both. So just kind of looking at you guys to see if you want to get things started.
Squarely in my district, I believe.
That's what I saw. But maps sometimes.
It's the creek. On the other side of the creek is District 5.
Gotcha, which is still the same property because it crosses over. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate the testimony, everyone, and appreciate everyone's willingness to come back to this rescheduled hearing. I wasn't sure when I started diving into the record here that there was going to be a win-win, but I do see one available here. Much of the public comment, not all of it, but most of it has to do with the issue of the schoolhouse is a schoolhouse. By the definition that was provided by community development in our zoning ordinance as to what the definition of a school is, the adjacent property to this project is not a schoolhouse. And I believe the definition on our ordinance was crafted specifically to mirror state law as far as state law's definition of a school. The substantial evidence is based in the record shows that notwithstanding the prior use as a school, that use was discontinued decades ago. And so just as a former president is not a sitting president, a former schoolhouse that has not been used as a school for decades is not currently a schoolhouse, is the way I analyze it, and I base that based on the definition provided to us today. And so if the main objection to this project is the potential impact on the historic schoolhouse and some claim that we should impose either the 1,000-foot setback or we should refuse to grant this permit altogether on the basis of an existing schoolhouse operation, I don't believe the evidence supports that. Further, I believe, and thank you, Elizabeth and John and Lara, for advocating on behalf of the schoolhouse project. I do have in front of me, which was submitted into the record today, a portion of the project on that, and it looks like they do seek to preserve the schoolhouse and to seek historic register status. But that's a tricky thing, and I can speak to that from my experience in Lakeport, where we have many, many historic buildings, but not many of those property owners have sought historic status, because to do so, when you get that status, severely limits your ability to rehab that property. And so the additional description in this property that you not just want to preserve the schoolhouse, but to make it some type of community center, weddings, reunions, meetings, festivals, arts and culture fairs, et cetera, 4-H and FFA meetings. I think that's a great vision, but that's not a schoolhouse vision. That's a proposed new land use that presumably itself would be subject to a conditional use permit process. So I really applaud the vision, but I don't think that the desire to preserve this former schoolhouse trumps in any way the ability for this applicant to bring his project forward. And I just want to highlight one bullet point also within the LARA proposal, that within 6 months of the proposal, you would finalize discussions with adjacent property owners for how property can best be used without interfering with their land uses. So it's a two-way street here. We're arguing that this former schoolhouse property would be adversely impacted by the proposed land use before us today. Conversely, I think it's a fair question, although it's not before us today, whether the proposed use of the property where the schoolhouse sits could adversely impact this cultivation operation that is proposed here today. And we don't have to reach that today. I also want to mention briefly, just because it was entered into the record, that the agreement reached between LARA and the school district in 2021 references a property at 3510 East Finley Road. That was signed and executed by the school district. There's 2 additional letters from the attorneys on that, also mentioning 3510 East Finley Road. As my understanding, the former schoolhouse property sits at 3505 Finley East Road. And so whatever contract you may have with the school district, I know it's an inadvertent error, but I'm not going to give it credit for close enough for government work. So whatever the ultimate plan is between LARA and between the school district to either operate it under the auspices of LARA as the purported buyer of this property, or whether the school district intends to keep part and parcel, not just the property, but the building for its future district and school-related activities. It doesn't look like even in this contract that it's limited solely to district or school activities. So again, based on this agreement, I don't see anything here that treats it as a current schoolhouse. It treats it as an old building that needs restoration, and the intended use by the lessor or the buyer, as it may be, is to turn it into a community event center. So I'm not sure those 2 uses, preserving a historic schoolhouse, but also booting up a new community center, are necessarily congruent. but I will leave that to the those people to figure that stuff out. To the testimony in the written comments, especially to the Planning Commission hearing, which I believe was not their best effort. I'll leave it at that. You know, we've got to stay focused on the project. We're not here to relitigate the wisdom of whether we should have commercial cannabis in this county, right? That's a bigger question. That's not before us today. We've already answered that question. We passed that ordinance years ago. We've amended it several times. The process before you here today with the initial study and the checklist and all the findings that are contained in the initial study and the proposed mitigated negative declaration, that takes facts and the property and the proposed project, and it comes up with the checklist, and it comes up with the proposed findings, which are still recommended here today, that we find this project will not have a significant impact on the environment as presented and as based on the evidence contained within the initial study. What I have heard in the written testimony and the oral testimony is concerns about cannabis. Not all of the concerns expressed even had to do with the subject property. Upper Lake, other places in the county. I used to live next to a hemp garden somewhere else. That's not on point to the application or to this subject property. So I personally don't give credit to those concerns. I want to validate that everyone has a right to have concerns about cannabis cultivation, but we're here to review the project as it's presented. And if you don't have evidence on top of those concerns, you know, I don't necessarily agree that I have to be bound by those concerns. And I think I can kind of leave it at that. I don't see that, as stated in multiple documents, that granting this use permit will automatically result in the destruction of the schoolhouse, will automatically destroy the view shed when there's a developed agricultural processing facility right across the street that's twice the height of what's proposed here. You know, it just, you know, I get it. It's a sensitive use, and I appreciate the project. I understand why people cherish that schoolhouse. But as far as the legal grounds and the substantial evidence that's required to deny this appeal, you know, there's nothing there. So those are my comments at this point, and I'm very interested to hear what my colleagues think about this.
Thank you for your comments.
I can go next.
Please.
Yes, and so I'm glad we're here. We're at this point. I do appreciate all of the information. I appreciate this coming to where we're at. Planning department, I really do appreciate the work you put in. I know that it was brought to the Planning Commission, and they basically gave their, you know, they rendered their decision where the appellant brought their information forward to appeal, and by that you're obligated to pretty much bring it to us with the information you already have, and then everyone else brings their comment to us. So I've read through everything. I've read through, you know, the project, all of the information given, and I also watched the video and listened to all of the different dialogue that took place in there. Just, I don't think anyone knows this, but my grandmother grew up in Findlay as a kid. She grew up there, and more than likely her grandmother, but I know that my family's from the north side of things, but during this time, I think a lot of my family worked over on this area. I don't think my grandmother or my great-grandmother went to this school there or anything of the like. I know they went to different schools, like either a boarding school or something of that nature. And so I know that they more than likely didn't go to the school, but that doesn't really, it's not here or there. I'm just mentioning that because I want to emphasize that it doesn't necessarily share the same nostalgic feeling that others that have accentuated their care for this project. There's folks that are supporting to deny the appeal because they're tied to it. Their families are tied to it. It's a schoolhouse that they feel they're connected to. I say that because as a Native American, and the plight for us to seek out and accumulate all of our cultural artifacts that have been lost and trying to put together our culture, bring back things that we've lost like our languages and songs, artifacts, baskets, anything like that. It's important that every single detail is put together. It's a puzzle that we've lost. And so for me to advocate for that, I have to give that same respect to folks that find things historical to them. And I know that there's a plight to work on making this a historical site. I mean, when you look at it, you know it's built during the time, you know where it's from, there's documentation of it. So with that, I feel like I have to make a conscious, empathetic decision, and especially with the work we're doing with diversity, equity, and inclusion, I would support to deny the appeal.
Thank you for your comment. Anyone else wish to speak on this? So I'll go ahead and speak on this. I can't seem to bring up the municipal code, but there's a couple of things that have been said that I'm not sure if I'm misunderstanding the code. I know I helped write the code, and I know what the intent was, but from what I understand, you can't have hemp and cannabis on the same property. There is a specific category or section within the hemp ordinance that separates that, because we were very concerned that people would use hemp to disguise cannabis. And so we used the word premises and then used the California code for, there's a specific government code that's attached to our code for the hemp ordinance. And when you read that code, it talks about the property. Not just the site where the hemp will be or where the cannabis will be. It speaks to the entire parcel. So I feel like your project is either unintended to grow hemp, and you're talking to us about hemp, or it's just never going to work in what you actually want to do. I do have a question for staff. At this moment, I know when I'm looking through the state, I'm not seeing a historical landmark designation for the schoolhouse. I heard in reviewing the video, and just for full disclosure, I happened to come in, not specifically for this project, but I did happen to come in and I watched the deliberation from the Planning Commission. I just wanted to see how things are going. And happened to listen into the conversation more towards the end of that conversation. But there was some words shared that it is designated historically by the county, and I believe it was said by the state, but I know that I can't find it for the state, but I also can't find anything specific to the county. Wondering if you can speak to that. Does that exist? Has that been designated?
One moment. We're gathering data for you.
Okay. No, we have, at this moment, we have closed that, and we'll get an answer to that from our staff. It's obvious that the building has history. I agree and appreciate the words shared by Vice Chair Crandall. And I think I'm just going to put a shameless plug. This is why we're looking for the Heritage Commission to do the work that the Heritage Commission should be doing, is to protect sites, landmarks, buildings, things of the kind. And it would appear that it would be one of those buildings that would definitely need to have that level of protection. There was an offer placed on the table. I want to say it sounded like it was mutual between Laura and the applicant to make some changes. And I think that those changes can continue to be discussed, but there are issues within the initial study of things that have been overlooked, or just some are small, I don't want to call them mistakes, but things that don't quite match the area site. For example, it says it's surrounded by RL, but then describes that it's surrounded by agriculture, little things like that. And then it speaks to the exact project site, which is located as the map was shown to us. But right now, the applicant is saying that, yes, I want to move it, and yes, there's the possibility of changing the project, which would, in my opinion, change the project description. And I'm okay with saying, go back and start that process over, and then let's see what that mitigation looks like. Whenever we find, whether it's sacred artifacts, sacred sites, it's not a cancellation of things. It's a mitigation to ensure the safety of those sites and those landmarks. And again, I don't know if you have an answer for me about the historical designation. Sorry to put you on the spot.
Okay, we're just triple confirming for you. One more minute.
Okay. But I think that I would like to believe that there's always a way to mitigate so that you don't negate somebody's property rights to doing what they want to do. And I would hate to see what the alternative is if this is not what's possible there, because I know the hemp ordinance. I helped create it with Rob Brown at the time that he was in office, and I don't know that it would prohibit that from happening, and I think that would be more detrimental than what we could potentially mitigate and pull back and make sure that, I personally don't like where the process that you've taken, sir. You have a pad ready for a piece of the project, and to me that's kind of piecemealing a project. I think that should have been discussed with the approval and then move forward to create a pad, because I don't know that that's the right location for that building, because that building does have a potential detriment to the area for that, that building, and I would love to see if we can save that. So I feel like there's some piecemealing that has occurred under the guise of hemp, which we were all a little nervous that hemp would be utilized in order to build buildings. This is not the first time that this has happened, and maybe we need to tighten those loopholes. I don't want to approve the project today. I think that there's too many changes that have been discussed and potentially could mitigate some of these issues. And I would say you need to rerun your initial study. You need to re-review the impacts to the sites that are there. There's the Mostyn site. I want to make sure that there's no impact. I want to make sure the schoolhouse is thought of. It was brought up about the Clear Lake Hitch. Now, yes, we do have the 100, and I believe we are at 100, but the state is 100, 150, and 200 for the setbacks from waterways, depending on what the class of the waterways are. Not sure what class that is, but we do have those setbacks, but we also have the new emergency orders. We do have our declared emergency of the hitch. I'm slightly curious if you are meeting the emergency orders at this moment, because you do have a well on the property, and all well owners, I believe, are supposed to meet those orders. But I'm more interested in giving a chance to see what's possible rather than saying no with what obviously could not work with what's being proposed here. But there have been conversations that I think could possibly lead us to a yes. And until I have an initial study that provides all of the results of what impacts that might have, there's just no way to say yes at this moment in time. So that would be my pursuit, is a denial of the appeal, I believe without prejudice, to allow the applicant to go back. And I know I've heard and I've seen in some of the letters, wasted enough time for staff, and I don't see that as a waste of time for staff. That's what staff's job is to do, is to work on projects and find ways to make it work. If it ends up that it doesn't work, then it ends up it doesn't work. If it ends up it can work, then that's exactly what we're there for. So I'll stop there with, and I believe I got
We have confirmed local. It is on our local list.
Okay, thank you. I need to obviously figure out where that list is, because I could not find it when I was doing my own personal research. Okay, I'll leave it there, and I see that there is Supervisor Green. Oh, no, let's go with Supervisor Pyska.
So I had asked staff for the site map to consider some of the negotiated changes to take a look at, and there's not one, correct?
Correct.
Right, and so it does change the project, so I do concur with my colleague here about that. A lot of the issues that were brought up by the Planning Commission and a lot of the letters that were sent in would really negate any use. If we're talking about view sheds and proximity to the creek and the hitch. So that concerns me, that, you know, if we were to deny this project, then there couldn't be a winery or an olive mill or any of those other things that someone may need to build a building here and have a processing shed. And I don't really think that to be true. I think this is cannabis specific, that people are have very sensitive feelings about cannabis in this location, which I do understand. And I do understand that there is a lot of value to this historic building. But I think that there's compromise here, and I would like to see it come back to show the compromises that have been brought up and to show lessened impact to the schoolhouse building, because I really think that there can be both. They both can be done well. So that's what I would like to see too.
Supervisor Simon, I just wanted to check in with you, or go with Supervisor Green. Okay.
Appreciate the comments. I want to point out that staff has prepared a proposed list of conditions of approval. There are several additions based upon the meeting with Laura, and because that meeting occurred fairly recently, my understanding is the reason we don't have the site maps is because that was a compromise reached fairly recently, and in the proposed project conditions of approval are not just a submission of the new site plan showing the relocated farm, but also checking with those companies that prepared the biological and the hydrology studies to ensure that the scope of review that they did in preparing their reports wasn't limited solely to the footprint of the cultivation site, that it applied to the whole 24-acre parcel. I want to remind that if people did dive into that hydrology report, it said that this roughly half-acre of mixed-light cultivation within a greenhouse on a 23-acre parcel is far less in footprint than prior cultivation of tree crops on that same property. So I believe the figure was 2.1 to 2.4 acre feet a year, and a watershed that provides, let's see, that was 0.01% of the entire aquifer. So in terms of water usage, it has been studied and provided an additional hydrology report. In the packet, there's even a drought management plan, which followed the ordinance then in place when the drought was there. So if there are remaining questions about water usage or setbacks or anything like that, everything is in the packet. And other than expressing new concerns and asking them to kick the can back down the road after close to 4 years since the original application date, seems to me to be an unreasonable burden upon the applicant unless you're expecting to get a whole lot of information. So I do think the proposed conditions of approval will incorporate those compromises that have already been negotiated, assuming that we get a positive response from the reviewers of the hydrology and the biological survey. I think we could proceed on that basis. Conversely, I am confident that if CDD gets indications from those entities that the relocation of the cultivation site would land them in a part of the parcel that was not reviewed, then I'm sure they would red flag it and not issue the permit pending further action. And I don't want to state that for CDD. On the Clear Lake Kitchen information order, I just want to mention one thing. This is in the Big Valley watershed. As a property owner in that watershed, I hope you have already received notification from the State Water Resources Control Board about the reporting requirements for the well on that property, and I hope you're already complying. But if you're not aware of that, and if it would give comfort to the board if we propose that as an additional project condition of approval, that the applicant not only provide evidence that they're aware of this, but they actually in their annual property management plan share whatever water data was reported to the state water boards. It would be nice if the county also got a look at that data. But I don't, at this point, if there's a concern about kicking the whole thing back, I'm not going to propose adding that as a project condition of approval. But I do think it is relevant, and I think also should they follow what the state water boards has already decided to do in the next steps of this, I think that in and of itself should be sufficient. I don't think any additional review of the initial study would yield any new information on that. It's a lesser water use. It's well documented. The hydrology report is there. The drought management plan is there. And whatever added love the state water boards has come up with, I feel they're well poised to deal with that.
I appreciate the comment. I just want to make a statement that part of our, let's say we end up moving forward with approving the appeal, is to approve the initial study. And I feel that that is not possible to approve an initial study that does not match what the project has become. So either we're approving the original project that is alongside the road, or we're asking to redo this part so that they can have the initial study match what the new changed project looks like. And to me, that leads to a lack of mitigating factor. And so that's why I would prefer, I cannot approve an initial study conditionally when the initial study does not match what the new version, which seems to have been accepted by the applicant, of looking at moving those buildings and greenhouses to a more secluded area of their property that would then create a better setback for the schoolhouse. And I struggle to, actually I don't struggle, I would not be able to approve an initial study that does not match that, and being okay with it as long as a letter comes out later on. I think that we need to go through the process over. And I'm going to pause and pass it on to Supervisor Simon.
Well, obviously, I appreciate all the information and the testimony given today. You know, when I went through this packet and looked at this project as it came through, being one of the, I think, only board member when we approved this, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong on that, but, you know, with the ordinance, this seemed like the area that we would see a project like this come into fruition. And I know there was some research done to be brought to us to get it to this position. Obviously, I know the Kelsey Creek Schoolhouse building, there's a conversation that's happening, but the information provided in all the packet and all the information that's given, a lot of personal feelings one way or the other, but I was prepared today to move forward with the recommendation of our Community Development Department and overturn the Planning Commission's decision. I've heard some discussion today about denying the appeal without prejudice so it could go back and be reworked. So if that's a concern, prepared to do that. But you know, it's kind of like a moving target as far as it goes with the schoolhouse. In the future, it may have something come to fruition. You know, I don't know. Not part of that project, not in my district, so I ain't 100% sure on that, but I've heard some very passionate folks that seem to be very determined to make that happen. So we'll see what happens with the conversation as it ends up today, but I appreciate all the work. I hope to see this project come back one way or the other if it's not approved today.
Supervisor Green?
Just a couple process questions then for staff and county council. I'm not aware of a way to deny an appeal without prejudice. The proper thing might be a continuance to allow for submission of additional information. But in crafting the proposed conditions of approval, it seemed you have at least some comfort that the initial study as presented today would survive and be defensible even if the footprint of the half-acre cultivation site was relocated as requested. But just a process question, if we do something without prejudice, would it come in the form of a motion to deny the appeal without prejudice, or would it be a continuance or some other type of action? And then last question would be, even if we do kick it back for some additional thing, what's to say that, again, the whole laundry list of concerns that were raised in the initial packet and any number of letters and comment will not raise additional issues so that if it does come back for further consideration that we aren't going to have to reconfigure this project again. Again, this applicant is waiting close to 4 years for action on this permit. So to the question of can we adopt an initial study fairly and competently and defensively with the proposed changes?
Thank you. After staff did have the meeting with the Lucerne Area Revitalization Association, we gathered the list of amendments to the project that they expressed satisfaction or support of, went back to make sure that the CEQA would still be appropriate. We didn't have exact clarity on the cultural, although the cultural report having identified where any sensitive sites might be, gave us a significant level of comfort that scooching the greenhouses 200 feet to the south would actually be further away from any potential impacts, not closer. We then also took a look at the bio report, which identified both the original proposed location as well as the amended proposed location as previously tilled soil. So we were fairly confident that the bio report would not result in any additional mitigations given the movement of the greenhouses. So it is due to that we had a level of comfort suggesting the conditions that we added, which all were contingent. The permit would not be activated until we received letters from those the authors of those reports stating and confirming, yes, the entire parcel was included, and we have no further mitigations to have offered. That would be a great thing for our file. Additionally, prior to activation of the site or of the permit, the new site plan would need to be submitted to our department. So we do have a current and approved site plan. And also that it be relocated so that there was at least a 500-foot separation from the Kelsey Creek Schoolhouse. So given those given the review that we did do prior to the Planning Commission hearing, we were comfortable with the addition of those conditions. And so approval of that project would have been contingent on the satisfaction of those particular conditions, as well as the other many pages of conditions.
Thank you. Supervisor Pascal?
Oh, if I could add one more thing. Water use is a standard item in our annual reports. So we were not concerned about impacts to the hitch.
Thank you.
So the site plan would be updated and approved before they would be able to activate?
The site plan would have to be resubmitted as it would have been approved, which would have shown that 500-foot separation from the schoolhouse, as well as the movement 200 feet away from where it was previously located. Yes, we rely on these documents because going forward, we have to have a firm, clear record of what was actually approved, so that when we're all gone and dispersed to the winds, future planners know what to rely on.
I'm happy to hear that, because on my house site, the septic tank is on the opposite side. Somebody made a change somewhere 40 years ago, and it's caused nothing but problems ever since. So that's really been my big concern. We can agree to these conditions, but I want to make sure the site map is updated and approved before any activation. So that does help me with that concern.
I'll make one final comment. I think there's a reason for the process that we have, and that process is to be as transparent as possible. The process at the state clearinghouse is to make it available to the public so that the public can provide feedback. It's not always possible for the public to be available on specific days when the Planning Commission is speaking of this or when the Board of Supervisors is speaking of this, but the time frame that the clearinghouse has and the sending out of letters to adjacent neighbors within a certain amount of linear feet from the project, I think all those things need to be considered with the changes, because there may be a different reaction from different neighbors. Not looking to get more negative reactions, but want to make sure people have that ability to provide that feedback in order to know there's been a change since this went through the clearinghouse and since we opened it up for public comment from people. Here are the changes. Let's give that time process and then come back. I would prefer to not have a continuance. I would prefer to have a denial with no prejudice, for the fact that our Planning Commission is our land use body, and I want to make sure that we don't skip over that with the new findings and the new information that would be provided. I want to make sure and respect that process as well.
California state law is fairly clear on what requires a recirculation. I'll defer it over to Michelle in just a moment. But just My understanding, and I'm sure County Council can correct me if I'm mistaken, a denial without prejudice closes the permit. The applicant would then be able to completely reapply for a brand-new permit and go through the exact same process. But we would start at the beginning. It would not be, like if the board decided to continue in order to gain more information, the permit would still, the application would still remain open. But I will defer to Principal Planner.
The recommended changes were also provided to the Planning Commission.
Yes.
Also, just for clarification, Section 15073.5 of the CEQA guidelines, recirculation of a negative declaration prior to adoption. I'll spare you on the word for word, but essentially it's if any project changes or modifications to the document can be constituted as a substantial revision. And it says substantial revision of the negative declaration shall mean 1, a new avoidable significant effect is identified and mitigation measures or project revisions must be added in order to reduce the effect or insignificance. Or 2, the lead agency determines that our proposed mitigation measures or project revisions will not reduce potential effects to less than significant and new measures or revisions must be required. And then it goes on to subsection C. Recirculation is not required under the following circumstances. 1, mitigation measures are replaced with equal or more effective pursuant to section 15074.1. 2, new project revisions are added in response to written or verbal comments on the project's effect identified in the proposed negative declaration, which are not new avoidable significant effects. Or 3, measures or conditions of project approval are added after circulation of the negative declaration which are not required by CEQA, which do not create new significant environmental effects and are not necessary to mitigate an avoidable significant impact. And lastly, 4, new information is added to the neg deck which merely clarifies, amplifies, or makes insignificant modifications, to the negative declaration. So I know that was a lot of words, but in this case, it would be number 2 and 3 that are applicable. So just wanted to clarify, under state CEQA requirements anyway, it would not trigger recirculation from staff's perspective.
So moving the site is not significant.
Not in this case where it's 200 feet south and the entire parcel has been disturbed and was covered in those initial analyses.
Mr. Guintavano?
Yes, County Council concern.
Yes, the CEQA guidelines speak for themselves. Procedurally, your board always has that option to either continue this hearing to a date and time certain for purposes of collecting more information, more data. Your board also has the option of, as it was referenced at times, to deny the appeal without prejudice, which, as Director Turner stated, would restart that process, albeit in a shorter time period, as opposed to denial with prejudice, or just a denial without prejudice clause.
Okay. Any further? Supervisor Green.
Yeah, just last thing, I'm going to attempt a motion here shortly, but I just want to point out that this appeal is part of the process. So I do appreciate very much the Planning Commission having the first bite at this apple. I've expressed disappointment with what they did with their opportunity, and I am very grateful that we have the opportunity to do de novo review today for that reason. So I don't see any big urgent need. I don't see any new information that would come from kicking this can down the road. I don't want to prejudice the applicant, again, with any unnecessary delay, having brought forth not only a good project, but having shown some willingness to make major revisions to minor revisions to the project to additionally mitigate the concerns that were raised by their neighbors. And I do very much believe there's a win-win here. Mr. Guintavano, there are a couple of motions here. Was there any suggested language you had regarding the first motion regarding the initial study?
None on that first recommended motion. I do have some clarifying questions on the second one, though, for.
All right, I believe that's true. Let me take a run at this and see where we're at, and then we'll talk about the second motion if it needs to happen. I'm going to move that the Board of Supervisors find that the proposed major use permit UP 20-40 for Higher Ground Farms at 3545 Finley East Road, Kelseyville, APN 008-02607 would not have a significant impact on the environment, and adopt mitigated negative declaration IS 20-50, determining that all impacts can be mitigated to less than significant through the implementation of the mitigation measures within the mitigated negative declaration IS 20-50, subject to the findings in the memorandum dated April 15th, 2024, and the conditions of approval in Exhibit E. Was there any amended in there I need to add? Was anything amended?
We amend the date of the staff report to April 23rd, please. Thank you.
All right. Subject to the findings in the memorandum dated April 23rd, 2024, and the same motion in all other respects. That's my motion.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Jessica.
Go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead, you.
I beat you to it. so.
Joanna will figure it out. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay. Mr. Quintovano?
Motion carries.
So with the second motion regarding the appeal approval, your board may move to intend to grant appeal AB 24-01 based on the findings of fact in the January 11, 2024 staff report, pages 21 to 22, if your board so wishes, and direct staff to prepare draft findings of fact.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. All right. Thank you very much for the conversation and this item. So if administrative staff would maybe wait, if it's possible. I know we have staff here from other facilities outside of the courthouse, and checking in with the board. What do you guys think about getting our behavioral health items done and our health services item done and then taking a lunch, or would you prefer taking a lunch right now?
I need to, with your permission, ask, we have consultants waiting.
Oh.
And Matthew, please come forward. Will they be available later? Otherwise, I fully support bringing behavioral health forward.
So, I'm actually not entirely certain whether they'll be available. It depends how much later. If I can get an approximate time, I'm happy to run that by our consultants. I will note that they have been waiting, though, for over an hour at this time.
Then let's go ahead and take up that item.
Can we take 5 minutes?
5 minutes? Okay. Let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break, and then we will take up item 6.6. And that's two. For it. We are taking up welcome back. We will continue from where we left off and take up our timely 10:30 a.m. item, 6.6, consideration of an agreement for professional communications and public relations services with Empreta Communications Group, Inc. in the not-to-exceed amount of $264,000 over 3 years. And we have Matthew Rothstein to introduce the item.
Yes, good afternoon, Board. Matthew Rothstein, Chief Deputy County Administrative Officer. Members of your board have expressed interest in enhanced public communications and public relations supports, creation and distribution of monthly County of Lake newsletters, and assistance with planning and executing targeted informational campaigns have been raised as priorities in recent months, and district-specific newsletters have also been of interest to members of your board. In response, the County Administrative Office issued solicitation number 2411, seeking firms to provide professional communications and public relations services. 5 qualified firms responded, and following a rigorous and competitive consultant selection process and follow-up interviews with the top 3 ranked respondents, Empreta Communications Group, Inc. was unanimously ranked number 1 by the panel. And many thanks to leaders and communications professionals from Health and Behavioral Health Services, the County Administrative Office, and Lake County Office of Education for their diligent work evaluating the proposals. All of our panelists found Empreta to be highly qualified and experienced. Empreta's strong emphasis on ensuring communications met the information needs of all Lake County residents was viewed as a particular point of strength. We're truly grateful to all of the strong firms that submitted proposals, and staff recommends today your board approve the agreement with the Empreta Communications Group in the not-to-exceed amount of $264,000, and that's over 3 years, so $88,000 per year, and authorize the chair to sign. The monthly retainer of $6,500 would accommodate monthly, countywide, and up to quarterly district-specific newsletters, and it will also cover communications planning support. And this agreement would also allow up to $10,000 per year for additional services such as targeted informational campaigns. And Katrina Salgado and Tomas Prower of Empreta are available in Zoom, and they're prepared to make a brief presentation as well. Welcome, Katrina and Tomas, and thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much for having us. Again, my name is Katrina. I'm one of the founders of Empreta. I'm hoping we could share our screen a little bit, Matthew, if that's possible.
Yes, please, thank you.
And I'm here with Tomas, who is our account director. Tomas, you want to say a few words before we jump into it?
Sure. Hello, I'm Tomas Prower. I'm an account director with Empreta Communications. I have 15 years of agency experience handling this. Most notably, I used to be the external relations director for the American Red Cross in Nevada for the state of Nevada. So that's a little about me, but I'm now with Empreta.
So thank you so much for having us. I'm hoping that you could see our screen. If not yet, let me just tell you, we are so honored to have this opportunity to work with you. We've worked with many individual, smaller rural community settings as well. So this is not new to us, and there are, slide please. There are 3 main points that we'd like you to understand about Empreta. We were built for you. There will be no learning curve. As I said, we've done this for 21 years. We understand where you guys are coming from. We were DEI before DEI was even a term. There is no, we will be an extension for your team. There will be no difference from working with you and working with your staff. We will make it so that you need us for as much or as little or as appropriate as possible. If you want toolkits, we're happy to do that. If you want us to do the full service, we're happy to do that as well. And at Empreta, everything is done in-house. Think of us as your one-stop shop. From language to creative to technical, we are here for you to do that. Next slide, please. The dots you will see on your screen, the yellow dots, are all rural communities that we've worked with up and down the state. And as you can see, Lake County is right next to a couple of those. And some of these are the projects that you see on the right side of your screen. People come to you to live their best life. People come and live in Lake County because they want a better life. And we're here to help you help them make it that way. Our experience with rural, hard-to-reach communities is what led us to develop this optimized communications plan that we're presenting to you today. Next slide, please. So this is just a smattering of what we do. As I said, everything is done in-house, from interpretation of foreign languages to newsletters, to websites, and all of that in between. And they are all integrated so that there will be no downtime in these projects. Next slide. These are some of the people that we've worked with, the companies and communities we've worked with. We choose to do and only want to do meaningful work. And hopefully we will be able to do that and deliver for you as well, because we believe that you really care about this community, as seen by the way you really consider what your constituents talk about. Next slide. This particular project calls for newsletters, and I have here just some samples of versions and formats that we've used for other clients. Some of them want to be printed out on their desktop, some of them want to be sent by PDF file, and some of them want electronic file. So these are some of the samples that are available to you as well. And we will make it so that you guys can take care of it after the project is done, or we can continue to keep doing it. We love working with clients like you and projects like this. So you're speaking to the creative director, so I'm just really excited about this project. Next slide. And most importantly is we have come to the understanding of the unicorn that is Lake County. The 5 districts are all very different. Each community is unique as a fingerprint, and that's why our work in cultivating empathy, empowerment, and education in this district is so important, and that will reflect on your districts as well. Our goal is to help you help people live their best lives here, and that starts really with building trust and communicating authenticity. That leads to our next slide, optimized communications plan. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but basically it starts out with understanding your target audience, whether it's county-wide or district-wide, moving into our special understanding and platforms that we like to use. In the middle is basically aligning with Vision 2028 and Lake County 2050. Matthew already said the scope of the work covers district-wide newsletters as well as community newsletters. And whether you want that as analog, meaning PDF forms that people can print out on their desktops, or digital, or both, we're happy to accommodate. Again, there's a feedback loop so we can always hear and pivot as to what's needed. Next slide, please. I took the liberty of creating a couple of versions of newsletters for you. On the left is, this is a PDF version. On the left, you'll see Lake County as the county kind of parent, and on the right is a customized district version. So as you can see, there's unifying, they're related, but they're not identical. And that's on purpose, because we want to create a brand and we want to create visibility so when people see it, they know who it's coming from. Last slide is a sample of electronic newsletters. Again, I took the liberty of using the mastheads, but again, very customizable. Copy and images can change. We could do it so that there's a template that you use every month, or we can change it out every quarter, depending on what's going on. It's really up to our teams, both you and us, to be able to create something that your constituents would love. So hopefully I tried to keep within the short time that was allotted, open to any questions. Hope to work with you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Anything further, Mr. Rothstein?
Not at this time.
All right. Supervisor Pyska.
I'm glad to see that we have this in front of us. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while. It's really difficult to communicate with our constituents, especially my district is so diverse, 3 very distinctive areas. It's really difficult to communicate to those 3 different areas the work that we're doing and the engagement that we need, especially now with the area plans. So I was a little bit confused. Do we have the ability to do monthly district emails, or is it quarterly?
So Imprenta does have the capacity to accommodate monthly district-specific newsletters if that's at the direction of your board. They did indicate that that would add somewhere between $1,500 and $2,100 in monthly cost. So that would equate to $18,000 to $25,200 in annual cost, and up to $75,600 over the proposed 3-year term. And certainly the communications encompassed by this agreement wouldn't be the totality of county communications. We would be happy to work with you and there will be those regular monthly countywide newsletters as well, and I'd imagine there will be items of relevance to one district or another in those as well. So just wanted to provide you that background so your board has a chance to consider it.
Okay. Yeah, that's something to consider. So I guess we can work on that. Is that an overall cost, or is that per district cost?
So that would be an overall cost.
Okay.
So the 1,500 would assume that 1 to 2 districts were doing monthly newsletters. 2,100 would assume all 5 were doing monthly newsletters. So, and the agreement, though, again, before you today, envisions quarterly newsletters for the districts and monthly at the county level.
Okay. And then another request that I've heard, and I'm not sure how to do this, but a follow-up, a board report after each meeting, and I know one of my colleagues in Napa County does it. It's very bare bones, but I think that would help folks understand how the day went here, how things were voted on, rather than having to hunt down the minutes or watch videos. If we could do something very brief, very, very brief and bare bones. So I don't know what that looks like. I'm just bringing that up as a concern that I've heard from constituents, and I think that might make it easier for the communities to understand the work that we're doing here on Tuesdays without having to commit to 9 hours like Helen is back there.
Well, I appreciate that feedback. That's not built into the agreement that's presented for your board today, so we would have to evaluate what additional costs there would be for the firm to take that on, but can definitely appreciate the potential value of having such communication.
Any other comments or questions? Supervisor Green.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. True confession, I'm a recovering journalist from the news ed side, so PR people, we're not tight. But I'm looking at your proposal here, and it's really beautiful. And I'm excited about bringing you guys on. One thing that has been, in my mind anyway, underemphasized, probably due to capacity, is our ability to outreach to our Spanish-speaking residents. So I don't see a direct call-out in the scope of work, but I do see that you have listening sessions planned, and I wonder if you could just speak, I love it, you were DEI before DEI was cool, but can you speak just a little bit, because I don't see it called out, what you hope to learn in the listening sessions and how that's going to inform, in particular, whatever messaging might require either an add-on contract or something like that for Spanish-speaking individuals that may not be specifically called out in this proposal.
Thank you so much for that. Actually, we had this conversation about listening tour, and the active word here is listening. It's not really about touring the entire Lake County. So if there are people who are, that you believe are worth speaking with in terms of, you know, 1 or 2 so that they can be the voice for your constituency, we're happy to do that. If you would like us to go do Zoom calls with a group of people or school boards or community groups, we're happy to do that as well. I did something similar when it was a big anti-hate situation in Orange County, and the hate crime situation there like rose by about 200%. So we're happy to do whatever it is that you find necessary. Sometimes we've found that just speaking with a couple of people from the district and the supervisors themselves, because they know so much about their constituents, will be enough. Again, we're happy to adjust to whatever it is. Everybody at our staff is bilingual, and Tomas actually speaks not just Spanish, but French and a couple other languages as well. We have bilingual Asian languages as well, if needed. I know that from your demographics, that's not necessary, but Spanish, we have about 4 or 5 people on staff who do that on a daily basis.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. I'll go ahead and provide my comment. Again, I appreciate the presentation. I appreciate the opportunity. Definitely have interest in having a little bit more bilingual material in order to ensure that as many residents as possible can look into what's going on. But today I will not be in favor of this contract. I think that I think that the people want to see physical change, and they don't want to just read about what we're working on. I think we can talk to our people. I think we can meet with our people. Yes, it's not easy to meet with everybody, but money is money, and I think this money could be placed, in my opinion, in better uses. So, again, appreciate what you do and what you're offering. It's not personal. It's just a personal reason of where I think money should be placed. And I guess my last question is, where is this money coming from?
Okay. And this money was budgeted at mid-year.
And it was budgeted in our, just the admin office, or in our economic development, or in our?
It's under admin.
Okay. I got a yes and maybe no from Mr. Carter.
I thought we budgeted under the Board of Supervisors.
Okay.
Thank you, Stephen.
All right. Thank you very much. If there's nothing further, Supervisor Crandall?
Yeah.
Vice Chair Crandall?
And so something came to mind when you were saying something about this, Chair. That I have 3 town halls. I meet with them. They ask me questions. I give them to them. They have to take my word. A lot of times I refer them to the video. They're not going to sift through an hour video. Sometimes we as staff can sometimes put up the short, brief session that's there. A lot of times that doesn't happen, or else it's just more work basically for you or one of us to do. I think a letter as such, or not a letter, but a newsletter, especially if it's focusing on the things that are already done or that we're working on, I really don't see an issue with this. I know in explaining one of the things that passed last week to one of my town halls, we had everything present. And if I had a letter like something of the nature that we're talking about, it might have gave them more satisfaction rather than me telling them and showing them the actual, the staff report or the announcement or agenda item. So I think this is beneficial. I know it's going to be more generalized. It's not necessarily something that's going to highlight anything for me to benefit from it, but just what we've done, a record, if you will. And so, I think this would be good going forward to whoever serves as a supervisor from here forward as well. I know for my district, it's important. So I don't see an issue with it. I think it's money well spent. I would love to have another staff member to do this for me, but I don't, and I don't want to put the burden on any of you to have to do any of this as well. So, yeah, so I'm okay with it.
Supervisor Pike?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. This is a very standardized practice in other counties, and most counties have the support staff to do this for them. We don't, and so this is something that we have to contract out. But people will be able to be on the email list to receive this. I think it's going to make our discussions at the town halls more robust, because people will be prepared and front-loaded with some of the information that we're working on. Because you're right now, we just show up and we have our notes and we go down the list of everything, and there's not very many people in the room. And so how are you adequately getting all that information out to your constituents when, a very small percent of them have the ability to show up at a meeting? And so this is an equity issue to take down those barriers and make sure that we're adequately communicating to everybody. And then, hopefully we're not going to be having disasters, but this is a better way for us to be communicating if and when that does happen. We'll already have those email lists established and created, and admin and OES will be able to pump out information to people, make sure that we have better lines of communication with the constituents that live here.
Thank you for your comment. Anything further? Supervisor Simon?
I'm glad to see it come back too. When we had our initial conversations on this, obviously, some of us are Facebook challenged or whatever you want to call it. They're getting out there, but showing up to the meetings and other things, like you said, giving the information. I think having it in a bilingual opportunity is really exciting about that, as we move forward. But I think the quarterly reports out, that we'd be able to put out there would really help, because what we see a lot of times is we're moving through processes, we move along, we do projects. Prime example, 29 corridor study that was done back in 2014. There's a lot of projects in my district that are going to be coming in the future that are already planned, already on the books and moving, but there's a lot of conversation still about them. I think we could really highlight certain projects coming, not in the short term, but also in the long term, so we can really have our advisory committees and our, folks doing the work concentrate on things. All right, hey, that's already done. Let's talk about projects going forward now. Let's pick little things up. I think communicating too with, I don't have 2 advisory councils, but I do have 2 councils. I have the Lower Lake Action Committee group and the MATH, 2 different organizations, the way they're set up. But that communication with the constituents, I think, is just so important. So I like the project that we're starting with, a 3-year project here, and it'll kind of grow as it's needed, whether or not it's monthly. But each one of us can have, all right, hey, this month I'd like to get in on it, and do a little more or something. So I think we can work together to do that. I hear you too, Bruno, being out there and doing that stuff, but I think this gives us a good opportunity, a tool to communicate in a much better way.
Thank you for your comment. Vice Chair Crandall.
Yes, even considering the town halls, there's also the CSAs, there's also the business association meetings that we go to. It's something that I can hand out as soon as I go there, each month. Show and then be hammered for, okay, this hasn't progressed in my opinion, whatever, but at least it's there and it's a basis, and they're not relying on me remembering or going through all of the things that I've listed or lack thereof, if that makes sense. So a lot of times, at least those things that we're doing will be on the plate. The other things that I'm working on, I can give them updates on the side, are on me then, if that makes any sense. So I just think this is a good tool to use, and I think it'll help.
All right. If there's nothing further, I'm going to open it up for public comment. Anyone wish to speak on this item? Come on up.
Hello, Helen Owen. I think it's a great project, although I kind of stand with Supervisor Bruno on this, that I think that money well spent. I think there might be some other things that are a little more pressing at this moment in the county, such as roads and some of the other things. So I would probably rather see the money spent elsewhere. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I don't see anyone else standing up in the chamber and no hands raised in the Zoom room, and so bringing it back to the board for action.
I move to approve the professional communications service and public relations service with Imprinted Communications Group, Inc. in the not-to-exceed amount of $264,000 over 3 years, and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. Motion carries. Thank you very much for joining us today and your presentation, and looking forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And with that, we're going to take a lunch break, and we will return for our to continue our open session items at 1:30 p.m.